Give me big old buckets of butter beer. Give me big old barrels of butter beer. Give me the drink I love so dear. And another round for my friend right here of the sweet old butter beer.
Welcome to the Three Broomsticks. We invite you to pull up a chair, grab a butterbeer, and settle in for a hearty discussion about Harry Potter. I'm Karoline.
I'm Irvin Cateman.
I'm Ev McLaughlin. And today we have a very special guest joining us, Gilad. Welcome, Gilad.
Thank you so much.
I'm so happy to have you at the pub. Please tell us a little bit about yourself, your Hogwarts house, your favorite book, your favorite character, and your journey to Potter.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm honored beyond belief to be here and do my first ever Harry Potter podcast, or podcast episode. I'm Gilad, and I'm from New York City.
Woo!
And my Hogwarts house is kind of a combination Hufflepuff and Ravenclaw, but your house is really based on your choices, not just based on your character. And for me, it is Hufflepuff that I went with at some point in my life. So proud Hufflepuff here. My favorite book is Deathly Hallows because every time I come to that book, it all comes together in such a not to use a cliche word, but a very magical way, in a way that no other book series ever really did. And as much as I enjoyed the journey, and I enjoy Hogwarts, of course, and you don't get so much Hogwarts in Deathly Hallows, the whole way that the story comes together, that the characters go through the growth that they do, that Harry comes to his own is just emotional for me in a way that no other book is. And my favorite character, I can't choose one, I have to choose two, which are Albus Dumbledore and Luna Lovegood. And I think for a similar reason, they're both very unusual and very unashamedly so, very calm in moments when you wouldn't expect a person to be calm. They kind of have this otherworldly quality to them that I always admired. So yeah, I am a big fan of both, and their complexities too. Albus Dumbledore, I suppose we know more of his, but we can imagine that Luna, behind the surface, we don't really know much about her. Like I always want to know so much more about who she is. And my journey to Potter. So I really experienced for a very long time Harry Potter almost entirely through the books. And even today, as I've read a little bit of fan fiction and I've watched the movies and seen Cursed Child, and I've spent a little bit of time on Pottermore, not too much else. But the books are what I always return to. That is my lodestar. And it's sort of like I was saying with the Deathly Hallows part, it's the most transformative experience that I've had with any kind of literature or art. And so I have read the books an unimaginable number of times. I love Harry Potter trivia. That's the sort of thing that I enjoy when I am spending time in Harry Potter. And so I also enjoy, getting to go into theories and understanding the world a bit better beyond. So yeah, that's my story.
Well, we are so happy to have you with us. I'm sure you guys will understand why Gilad and I hit it off, because we pretty much have all the same houses, favorites, and so on. But yes, I've been very impressed with Gilad at our New York meetups, and I was like, oh, this guy knows his stuff. So I think you're going to do great here. We're happy to have you.
Yay.
Well, today, for episode number 90, we have gathered to discuss potions. This is the grand finale, the culmination of our potion series that we've been doing the last couple months here at the Three Broomsticks, which, I think has been incredible. So yes, first of all, recommended listening. Go listen to our whole potion series of episodes. We have one on Veritaserum, on Polyjuice Potion, and on Felix Felicis. We're also going to recommend you listen to episode 64 about disbelieved deaths for analysis of the draft of Living Death in the series. And recommended reading, there's a great article on Pottermore about potions that Joe Rowling wrote. And there's going to be a bunch of essays we shout out as we go, many of them from Felicity's Mind over on LiveJournal. So, you know what? We'll have them all for you at the end, and on our socials, because, yeah, there's going to be a lot of homework involved for this, where we're going a little bit Snape-ish on the topic.
And when Irvin says potion, he means every potion.
Well, yeah.
Every single potion will be discussed.
I mean, what kind of podcast would we be if we discussed, like, half the potions? Like, that is not what people come to the Three Broomsticks for. Right?
Yeah, maybe.
Very true.
And a huge thanks to Nina and Gilad over on our Patreon who bought us this round of drinks at the pub.
Yay! Thank you so much.
Thank you.
If you'd like to buy us a round at the pub, head over to patreon.com/3broomsticks with the numeral 3 to sign up. Very on topic for this episode. If you want to listen more about potions, if that wasn't enough, you can listen to Tavi and me talk about our favorite potions and we invent potions we would like to have just to live a long and healthy and very ethically mindful life, all while wishing for sleep in a bottle. And because Ev is here, I have to mention Ev and Karoline read fan fiction, where we read fan fiction for the very first time. We are starting with Draco Malfoy and the Mortifying Ordeal of Being in Love, and it is so much fun. I hope you all listen to that. And we would really appreciate your help in keeping the lights on at the Three Broomsticks so we can talk about Harry Potter for a long time to come.
So, Irvin, tell me this. Since we are going to be discussing every potion,
yes,
should our listeners at some point expect a discussion of every flavor of Bertie Bott's Every Flavor Beans?
Well, obviously. So next year, I think we're going to have a whole series on bean flavors where, you know, we're going to have like 6 or 7 episodes about like the individually important beans, you know, like earwax, and then just one about all the other beans. Yes.
Do you think a year is enough or do we need 2 years?
I mean, you know what? We'll see how it goes. If we have to go into a second year, you know we will.
Okay.
Yeah, and all the metaphorical meanings of, you know, why is it earwax? Why is it liver and tripe? Yeah,
you know,
Stay
answering
tuned.
the questions that keep Potter fans up at night.
Speaking of fans, thank you so much to everyone who listens and comments on our episodes. And we would like to raise a toast to the comments on episode 87. The episode was a part 2 of Goblet of Fire, chapter 35, Veritaserum. And today we raise our glass to commenter Irene G, who said there was quite a long comment, and I would advise people to read the whole thing, but I'm just going to read a fraction of it. I really enjoyed your discussion about the permanency of magic when it comes to transformation and transfiguration. When I read the series, I assumed that unless the transfiguration is undone, either by spell or potion, relatively quickly, the effect will be permanent. In the instances that mention magical transformation, most if not all, were undone by a more qualified wizard or witch. So then Irene lists the examples, and she had a discussion there with Irvin about Polyjuice Potion, and obviously that does wear off by itself, so that is mentioned. But she also mentions towards the end about the Barty Crouch being transfigured, Barty Crouch Senior being transfigured into a bone. And she ends her comment with, also, if Fang ate Crouch Bone, it would be that much more difficult to undo all of the effects. So what I would like to discuss with you briefly before we get stuck into the main discussion is what if you have transfigured somebody into a bone or a sculpture or something, and then it got damaged, either gnawed by a dog or broken or something in some way. If you then try to transfigure it back into a person, will the person be whole, or would be the bits that got gnawed by a dog be missing or broken?
I think unless the dog is a dark dog, you know, hellhound or whatever, I think the magic could reverse that, because there's a lot made about how, like, injuries sustained through dark magic are irreversible, which I think implies that the others are, in fact, reversible.
But would you need to have all the pieces together? So, like, if I now transfigure you into a sandwich and give half of that to Ev, and we eat it somewhere else, like...
What kind of sandwich?
Doesn't matter. Just any your favorite.
BLT.
Your favorite sandwich. What's your favorite
I was
sandwich?
about to be like, doesn't matter. This is the most important part.
Your very favorite sandwich, or Ev's and my very favorite sandwich, and then one is here, one is in New York or in the UK or wherever. And if I now can I retransform or reverse the transformation with just my piece of sandwich? Do I have to put them all together? Or what happens if I have already digested it?
Oh dear.
My instinct would say that if you cut the sandwich in half, then it doesn't matter because the sandwich is still the same approximate composition, the same ratio, and the same kind of form. And that would be different from if you took out the lettuce from the sandwich and and ate it and threw it somewhere else.
Okay.
Then I think you'd be damaged.
Okay. But it doesn't matter if because sandwiches never are equally distributed if half of the tomato is missing, but nearly all of the lettuce, as long as there's still a little bit of lettuce there.
I think so. It's kind of the principle of regeneration, kind of like with food in the first place, according to whichever of Gamp's laws.
Yeah, this is a whole ship of Theseus question. At what point is, the ship of Theseus no longer the ship of Theseus as you futz around with it?
And what is the real essence of Irvin in the Irvin sandwich?
Bacon.
Is it the
Definitely
lettuce?
the bacon.
Is it the bacon?
And that's it. That's
so
easily
as long as
answered.
the bacon is there.
As long as the bacon is there,
get
it'll
the
still
Irvin
be
back.
Irvin when you transfigure it back.
Oh, interesting.
Could I do a murder mystery by transforming, I don't know, poison or a knife into a sandwich, and then you eat it, and then I transfigure it back while it's still inside of you, and then you have a knife or poison in your stomach? Does that work? Or does it have to be outside of you?
I think it would be hard to sort of aim your magic at something that was already inside you. It could be done. I think it would just be very complex.
I also think there's a certain degree of randomness to this, just in the way that magic never perfectly follows any rules, and that's part of the beauty of it, and that's part of what makes it different from the Muggle world. It'll depend on who's the caster. It'll depend on whether they have their concentration in the right place at the right time. They might be able to remove the knife, but they have to be maybe a little bit more magically advanced to be capable of that. And I also think that, I don't know if you've ever explored the magical theory book that they're supposed to buy in their first year. I think it's maybe Adalbert Waffling. I think it's him. I don't remember exactly which author, but this is the sort of thing I imagine being written about in a book like that, that they would really go into the philosophical ship of Theseus style discussions, and it would kind of inform what, as a student of magic, you're supposed to understand and to know what the risks are. And that's part of why maybe they wait, a full 2 months until they cast a single spell in their first year, because they have to really get their heads around some of those questions. And I imagine someone like McGonagall especially would be really good at that. And some of the other professors, a little bit less so.
It would be good if that, for me personally, it would be very reassuring if that was a thing that actually happened, because we've been coming back to the matter of a class of ethics is missing here in Hogwarts, but that sounds a little bit like it. Maybe not completely on ethics, but on consequences of magic and what to think about when doing magic.
You would hope that the teachers would cover that as they're introducing any of the like new charms or transfigurations or potions or any of these things, because this would be the natural time for these to come up.
Mm.
And I think something you were saying, Gilad, about the way it's not completely clear how the magic works in terms of rules a lot of the time in Harry Potter, because I think this particular question about what would happen if you damaged a product of the spell and then or a potion and then reversed it, what is the effect? Because I've been recently reading a novel for book club by Naomi Novik.
Oh, which one?
Quite fun. Uprooted.
Oh, okay. Not one of my favorites. Yeah. I've read all her stuff. I'm obsessed with Naomi Novik.
Oh, brilliant. Okay. I will have to ask you to recommend the next one to read.
Definitely Spinning Silver. Or if you want like a quick novella, The Summer War. It just came out last year, and I read it, and I was like, how is this so short and so good? It's like annoying how good it is. Like,
oh, excellent,
yeah.
Excellent. Because I quite liked Uprooted, and there is a bit there. There is a way basically to turn a person into stone, and at some point during a battle, it happens, and then after the battle, they drag the stone statues somewhere else, and the narrator can see that basically they're not careful about it, and the bits of the statues are coming off, and she knows for sure that these people can be turned back into people, but they would be missing the parts that the stone parts that are now missing from the statues. So we know how it works there. It's not too clear how it works in Harry Potter, but it's fun to consider different.
Well, I mean
systems.
that's because we're approaching this from the point of view of a tween Gryffindor who has a lot more on his mind. I'm sure all the rules are there, and I'm sure Hermione knows them.
Yes, no, absolutely.
And I think it's kind of great that Harry doesn't. I think that's a very realistic point of view. And, like, at least personally, I have so little patience for, like, when it's a fantasy novel and we're like, and now we're going to take 9 pages to explain to you exactly how this magic system works. And I was like, you could just tell me magic and we could move on.
Are you one of those people who doesn't care? Because that's actually one of the criticisms people have of Harry Potter, is that the magic isn't sufficiently
delineated,
explicitly coded in. So
whereas that is a huge selling point for me.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
And like, I actually think it makes it more fun for us to then try to figure out how it all works, like, from what we do know. Because I feel like we're still given plenty of information about how it works, just in a much more organic way.
Yeah, and it certainly gives us a lot to talk about if the amount of notes in our episode doc is anything to go by today. So thank you so much, Irene G, for your comments on episode 87. We always appreciate everyone's comments. So
yes. And with that, I think we can get into the discussion. The first thing we must ask ourselves is, what is a potion?
Okay.
And to quote Puffs, there are, a couple theories out there.
It's what you put on your skin to make it feel soft.
No, that's lotion.
It's where all the fishes live.
No, that's the ocean.
Well, it's a starchy root vegetable.
You mean a potato?
Oh.
It's magic liquid.
No, that's the most dunderheaded answer of all.
I really need to see Pops.
You really do.
I think I'll enjoy it.
Yes, this is their version of Snape's first class in year 1.
Makes sense.
And the puffs trying to figure out what a potion is. So yes, a potion is a field of magic where you make some, concoctions from various magical ingredients, and then you get really cool, epic powers from it. So, a bit of housekeeping. We're only going to be discussing the potions that are mentioned in the canonical books. So, the 7 Potter books, Fantastic Beasts, Quidditch Through the Ages, and Tales of Beedle the Bard. If we went into all of the Apocrypha, the Book of Potions video game, and Pottermore, and this, that, the other, we would quite literally be here until 2028. So, yeah, like, as usual, we will, take the Apocrypha to inform our analysis, but those are the only ones we're going to be listing. So yeah, I figure we could start by doing individual potions, and then we can talk about them, collectively towards the end. Mm-hmm. So first up, Polyjuice Potion, Veritas Serum, and Felix Felicis. Please see episodes 83, 85, and 88, respectively. Been there, done that. So let's start with the potion no one ever wants to talk about, Amortentia, the love potion.
Why does no one want to talk about it? I would love to talk about it. And how horrible implication it has.
I think it's the bad ethical implications of it, and people don't want to go.
I do want to go there.
Basically, my thoughts on love potion, which I feel like reflect a lot of people's thoughts about love potion, is like, no, bad, we don't like it. Like, obviously, we probably could have done an episode on love potions. I don't want to.
No, I wouldn't want to talk like 3 hours on it. But I want to, maybe I'll start with a question because... obviously, the twins, the Weasley twins, sell a love potion. And I was thinking about it. Is that Amortentia? Because Amortentia, we learn about it through Tom Riddle and how he was conceived. And it seems to be a very, very strong potion that kind of makes you forget everything. And then we see the potion of Fred and George working on Ron, but it has already gone bad. Which kind of implicates that when it's not gone bad yet, it's not quite as strong. So is it the same potion? Is it a different kind of love potion that isn't quite as bad? Or is it just the same potion but with less strength? Or do you think it's actually exactly the same thing?
I think there's probably more than one type of love potion because we know that you can't really, from Slughorn, that you can't really replicate love. So what all the potions of quote unquote love potions would try to do is they would try to emulate some aspects of it, like intense, infatuation or, other things, but not the actual love. So given that they can kind of the potion you're attempting to do this can sort of latch on to a particular characteristic and try to make a love potion based on that. And I think it's made clear that Amortentia is kind of the love potion in terms of, the strength and consequently the ability to do harm. So what Fred and George probably have is something more kind of light, something very time limited, something more of like that would, if you used it appropriately, would be more like a prank and less of a something that's really bad. You could still argue that this is still could be used badly and it shouldn't exist. It's a little bit like alcohol. It is available and it can cause a lot of harm, but the expectation is that the drinker is going to, consume it in moderation and behave themselves. Well, you can still make the case that we shouldn't have that either. And Ron is clearly not partaking in the love chocolates as intended. So it's as I was writing that down, I was thinking it was like a wizarding version of edibles.
Yeah,
which doesn't work. Occurred to me before.
So 2 points that I wanted to press on a little bit is so did I understand you correctly that you think Amortentia is kind of build blocks, like blocks of how to make love, except for the actual love part. And then maybe Fred and George's version do not have all the components of Amortentia? Is that what you mean?
So if I can jump in on that one.
Yeah.
We see a lot throughout the series, and we're going to talk about this in relation with others, but basically there are like classes of potions and there's like a specific potion. Like there are shrinking potions and then there's like the shrinking solution that we make in class. That type of thing. So I think that sort of love potions are a class of potion and Amortentia is sort of like, the standard, most powerful, most well-known, standardized version of love potions. Like if we sort of do food analogy, like love potions are like cheesecakes, which is a type of cake. And within cheesecakes, there is like the key lime cheesecake from Junior's, which is Amortentia. And there are lots of other cheesecakes and, some are better, some are worse, some are stronger, some are weaker. So yes, I think that Fred and George aren't selling Amortentia, they're selling, God willing, a watered down, less intense love potion.
Yeah, yes. Which is still bad.
Yeah, yes it is, yeah.
Because, I mean, the comparison with edibles doesn't really work because I think the intention is that you're not taking it willingly, which makes it so bad.
Right. Well, that's what distinguishes love potions certainly from something like what you're describing in the real world, because they would almost never be used by the person who makes them in likelihood. It's intended to be given to someone who because if you were to give it to yourself, that would probably mean, you're trying to make yourself feel something that you already want to feel. That's not so likely. Instead, you're trying to change what someone else will do. And I think it's kind of evil and frightening in a similar way to how Umbridge is compared to Voldemort. It's a much more relatable, likely version of coercion. Or I don't know, I'm thinking about the comparisons between something like the Imperious Curse, which is more like Amortentia, and the Cruciatus Curse. And they're put in the same category, even though Cruciatus is, on the surface much, much more painful. It's a little bit more crude, whereas the Imperious Curse and Amortentia are based around, our normal lives, and they're meant to make things seem normal when they're very, 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 very much not. And it's the sort of more banal evil that, resembles something that we see much more often. And it is telling to me that Fred and George make it, and that they would never, ever dream of creating something that imitates torture. And even, I think, Molly Weasley has a scene in, I think, the third book where she is telling Ginny and Hermione about a love potion she made as a child, and they're all giggling, and none of them is thinking about the implications. And even in the Harry Potter series, you don't get the impression that the characters are totally aware of the implications of the love potion. That's why, retrospectively, when we've stepped out of it and we're talking about it now, we can say, no, bad. But in the series, it's not presented in this uniquely, terribly bad way. And that's part of what makes it so alluring to characters and so scary.
But that is what baffles me the most about love potions. I don't object to their inclusion. I think it's a perfectly realistic bit of magic to exist. I think it fits, with the world and all that. It's the characters' attitudes towards it that I just don't get. Because, like you say about the Imperious, which I think is the most analogous bit of magic we see in the series, the Imperious Curse is presented as unforgivable. The use of it on another human is enough for an automatic life sentence in Azkaban. Love potions don't seem that different from Imperious, and yet the wizard's attitude towards it is just it's a bit of fun, it's like you had a tequila shot, it's, it's whatever, it's a good time. And it's that dissonance that I can never wrap my head around, is why wizards are so okay with love potions but so not okay with Imperious.
I think it's not that unrealistic, because if you think about the difference of slipping someone drugs or slipping someone alcohol, or coercing them into drinking more to kind of loosen them up, or even with the similar consequences to Amortentia in the end, that is much more joked about than slipping someone drugs, even though alcohol, of course, is also a drug. And so I think if Amortentia has just been around for a longer time, and or love potions have been around for a longer time, it's just normalized as a joke and as fun. I think we see that in our society in different ways too. So I don't think it's that unrealistic.
And just one more example from the wizarding world is the Vila magic, which has a very similar effect, that it takes over your mind. And I've heard that compared as a very similar thing to the Imperious Curse, because not only do you lose control of yourself, but you also get this sense of bliss. And that's part of what makes also Amortentia dangerous and likely to draw people in without them even realizing it, is because it's a very pleasant feeling that and I'm sure that Ron, when he takes the love potion, I mean, maybe somewhere in the back of his head it feels wrong, but it's probably a very pleasant feeling as well. And of course, there's the parallel to drugs as well. So that's also something that's sort of joked about, and it's not banned. When the Vilas start to cause half the spectators in the stadium to practically jump out of their seats or whatever they're planning on doing. It's not, they're banned from the pitch eventually, but it's only for throwing fire. That's the part that's actually seen as more dangerous, even though it's probably not the more dangerous part of it. And I think the parallels go on. And by the way, I just wanted to mention really quickly that we know for a fact Amortentia is one type of love potion, because Hermione says it to Slughorn when he asks the question, what is Amortentia? She says it's the most powerful love potion in the world, which to me suggests that there must be other love potions that are less powerful, and Amortentia is the most powerful. Now, whether it actually has all the qualities of love except for love, I'm inclined to think no. I think that, the fact that love can only be housed in the Department of Mysteries behind the locked door and nowhere else, in the magical world, suggests that Amortentia has basically nothing to do with love whatsoever, except for the fact that, love can cause us to have, but it's more of a convergence of symptoms rather than anything analogous.
Yeah, I think it's just that you can't replicate love as a thing, because we don't really. It's like one of those it's greater than the sum of its parts, that you can identify the parts, but the thing itself, you can't just make it up. We don't know quite exactly what it is. And I think that's kind of the mystery of it, is that you can't just replicate it in a potion. But also with regards to how it's being intended to be used, do we reckon there is absolutely no scope for a consensual use of Amortentia, or any kind of love potion between, like, say, two consenting adults, depending on what kind of effect that particular type of love potion produces?
So, I want to go back to what you said earlier of the analogy between love potions and alcohol. I actually think that's a really, really salient one. I think, and I am coming up with this on the fly, that probably part of love potion's magic is making you act silly in service of the love potion. I think in that way, it's a lot like alcohol, where, like, you drink love potion and then you just, act like a complete boob. And that, like, because it's so obvious that you're, drunk on love potion, that sort of, as a society, they're like, oh, look, Ron's taking love potion. Isn't that funny? Isn't that silly? And sort of, if it's powerful enough, if the, like, effects of making you act like an ass are powerful enough that it's clear when you would be taking a love potion, I could see how that would sort of be more accepted societally, as opposed to just, like, imperious, like, you don't know when someone is being controlled or not. Like, the non-consensual aspect of it is still, like, yikes. But I could see how wizards might be more okay with that. So
it's like a different way. They have options in the way they can get drunk with friends.
Exactly, yeah.
Via alcohol or via that type of
it's also
like the way we as a society offer a lot of grace to people for the shit they do while drunk. As someone who doesn't drink, I might occasionally say in excess of grace. I think it might just be a similar thing in the wizarding world.
Right. And it's also completely different from the Imperious Curse in that it's not total control. It is a completely different level of things. It is a certain amount of control. And in a way, there's something about it that's worse, because it makes you really feel something. Whereas the Imperious Curse, I don't think, has anything to do with your feeling. It's just someone manipulating your arms and everything, and your brain. But anyway, I just wanted to add that because that sort of makes Amortentia a little bit less like that there could be people who are completely different people from who they really are, and everything about you is controlled. It's more like a drive that it creates inside of you that you can't control. And that, again, makes it a little bit more like a drug. But as for whether it could be used consensually, I think possibly. I just don't think it would be much. But yeah, of course, people could if they wanted to elicit that feeling in themselves. Like, we know that Amortentia at least smells good, and we can presume it also makes you not only smell but also feel the things that you love.
Speaking of which, Could I again promote our Patreon series, Karoline and Ev Read Fanfiction, because there is actually, it's like a minor plot point in it, not to give a lot of it away, but in one of the episodes we discuss one of the chapters that basically deals with amortentia. Well, microdosing amortentia is dealt with as a kind of a pleasant thing to do. So basically what happens is they have cocktails. There is a cocktail party. So they have cocktails where you put like a teensy little bit of amortentia. And what it does to the drinker is instead of giving them, making them like strongly infatuated with somebody, what it does is it makes the cocktail do the nice smells that the amortentia cauldron does. And they just feel kind of relaxed and wistful, and they have all those like smells of the things that they love. So that's kind of, I just thought it was a fun idea of how it can be used without being particularly problematic. But yeah, we discuss it in Patreon. So if you'd like to
it was
hear
a
more.
fun episode.
It's there.
I think that might be the one time it could be used consensual. But I mean, sorry to pull that card, but as a woman, if something like that exists, it will be abused. So yeah, I think selling love potion is highly questionable.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest problems I have with Fred and George there.
Yeah, it's not a great look.
No.
Especially because, like, presumably the consensual use would be, like, a couple takes it because, you know, one of them wants to look and act ridiculous. Again, going back to the alcohol, like, acting ridiculous aspect of it. But, like, Fred and George aren't marketing it to, like, adult couples.
Yeah.
Like, it seems very much marketed to, like, you know, teenage girls, like, you know, wanting to, you know, like, hook their love interests. And that does seem much more ripe for abuse, sort of however benignly you look upon it.
Perfect.
And there's also the fact that, like, it's juxtaposed with Merope Gaunt's love potion on Tom Riddle Sr.
Yeah.
Like, it's sort of, I could almost understand it more if, like, love potions were introduced as, like, a fun, silly thing Fred and George did in Goblet of Fire, and then in Half-Blood Prince we found out about Merope Gaunt using a love potion. But, like, because this is literally, like, 100 pages apart, just, like, it's so very obvious how it can be abused that, yeah, it's not a good look.
Particularly tragic thing about the Merope with the love potion is that she's not even evil, because I think she genuinely thinks that if only she can get him to spend enough time with her, under the potion, he would come to love her anyway without it, which is obviously not the case. So because the moment he stops taking the potion, he comes back to his senses and leaves her. It's just tragic on all sorts of levels.
Yeah. How do we think it works specifically? Because I'm wondering if, based on the scent thing, right, that amortentia smells like what attracts you, I wonder if the way it works is it hardwires your brain to be attracted to, like, a certain person's pheromones rather than what usually attracts you. That, like, that's sort of the science behind it. Because, yeah, like, I'm fixating on the smell thing.
But when Ron takes it, he's not near her. Or do you think, like, in your brain you've just filed up the pheromones of all the people you've met before? And
no, it's not a Cupid's arrow. It's not the first person you set eyes on.
No. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
so it's something. It's kind of like a polyjuice thing. Somehow you put an ingredient. Like, is it more toenails? I hope not. I mean, maybe.
I think you could put toenails in there.
Maybe it is though, or something, right? Maybe it's not.
Yeah, something.
It can't just be any part of the person. It has to be a specific part, or it could literally be like I don't know, something like extracted from the person that's more like neurotransmittery, maybe essence of neurotransmitters from the person who, I don't know. But somehow it must have a piece of the person who, not necessarily of the person who made it, I want to say. Although maybe it would have to be made by, would it have to be made by the person who is going to be attracted to?
No, because Fred and George sell like ready-made ones.
I guess that's
it's
true.
Just
and
like,
you just have to add a
drop of
something.
sweat and it's good to go.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
I like sweat. I think sweat is the ingredient it has to be.
That's my assumption.
And what happens if someone does a love potion with an ingredient from a person that the drinker has never met? Will they know, or will they just feel the feeling of I'm so in love with a person that I have no idea who they are and I need to find them?
Yeah, Ron barely knows Romilda Vane. I think. Yeah, I think so.
But he knows her. He knows her. It's not like he's not good friends with her, but he knows her name. He knows that she exists. I mean, like someone really, literally, you've never met in your whole life.
I imagine maybe it like you'd have an idea of them. Like Ron would just have a like, you know, curly haired, like, you know, raven haired girl like pop into his mind being like, I don't know who this girl is, but I'm in love with her. Because you think that he will get kind of an image. So maybe the DNA is transported through the potion. Yeah. Like I think he wouldn't know who it is, but he would like, you know who, like see who he's in love with. And then like, you know, the minute like you encounter them, you're like, you're my dream girl. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I think another interesting thing that I'm wondering about is what is the mechanism of attraction that the love potion is trying to induce? Because then what happens if an asexual person drinks it or an aromantic person drinks it? What is it that they're then experiencing, or does it not work for them? Or what happens? Because when we speak about love and the effects of love potion, we kind of have this kind of mashed together idea of all sorts of different types of attraction. But if some of them don't work on that person, then what happens? Are there some people who could drink Amortentia and then just think it's like a nice drink that smells nice, and that's it, and that's as far as it goes for them?
I don't think so.
It would be like the Mirror of Eris said with the happiest person on earth. It's like if someone drinks Amortentia maybe someone who loves everyone. Or maybe it's someone who loves no one. I don't know actually which one it would be.
Yeah. I think because the feelings are not real and just you're getting the components of it, I think it wouldn't matter that much. You would feel the same thing and just feel extremely weird about it. Because it's not true love or true like attraction. It's just the kind of put up feeling of attraction and not a real one. Because you don't behave like you would if you would actually be attracted to someone. So
yeah, but even so, is it a romantic attraction? Is it a physical attraction? Is it both?
I think it's obsession, right?
So I definitely don't think it's sexual. Because, I mean, I know it's still a young adult book, so it wouldn't happen this way, but Ron isn't like, oh my god, I gotta bang Romilda Vane. It's more that, like...
Very true.
Yeah.
And this is possibly what makes the light potions not as bad. Because there's probably some kind of a limit to the stupid things you're going to do.
Right, like you aren't going to, not to get really dark, but like, you know, sexually harass someone because of it. I view it more as just like, you know, you shower them with flowers and chocolates and like, you know, really want to gaze adoringly into their eyes for hours on end.
Send them stupid postcards that sing about their fresh pickled toad eyes.
Yeah. There was no love potion involved there.
No, she didn't need it.
Yeah. But yeah, so we don't quite know. It could go either way. Like either the love potion could like redirect your feelings towards someone, or it could just like manufacture such a powerful like romantic obsession with someone that like, you know, all your other feelings pale in comparison. And I think it's probably the latter, in which case, like Karolina says, it wouldn't really matter much how much romantic attraction you experience to begin with, because it would just create that rather than redirecting what you already have. Mm-hmm. I will say that this does issue another consensual use of love potion, where someone who is aromantic and doesn't experience that, like, wants to find out what it feels like to be, you know, romantically interested in someone, and would take a swig just to sort of, you know, experience that.
That's a very good point.
Oh, look at us. You know, moral of the story, love potions aren't so bad, right?
They're good. We should sell them, yes.
I thought the moral of the story is it's complicated.
No, that's that. No.
It's complicated, but
No.
it's interesting to think about how this works, which is kind of true about all the potions, really, we're going to discuss.
Yeah. But yeah, that's love potions.
Very good start here.
Big yikes.
Well, with that brilliant start, let's move on to Wolfbane potion, our next potion we want to discuss. That I don't think is quite as problematic.
No, yeah, Wolfsbane potion, I feel like it's an objectively good thing that it exists, and we like it. So apparently it's, you know, strictly for werewolves, where if werewolves take it, like, the week surrounding the full moon, when they transform, they just transform into an ordinary and sleepy wolf. And what we know of it societally is that it's a very complex potion, and the ingredients are very expensive. So, you know, Lupin really doesn't have access to it, except when he's at Hogwarts and Snape is brewing it, you know, on the school budget, I suppose.
Also, though, I want to add, it doesn't just turn you into a wolf, because, I mean, you could say maybe it's just a wolf who, yeah, like you said, is sleepy, but we know from Lupin's account that he retains his mind much more when he's taken the Wolfsbane potion. So he has an almost human mind, I think. And it makes you wonder whether... I don't even know if I've heard this way of describing the werewolf transformation, if it's from the books or if it's from somewhere else, but that there's almost a wolf mind and a human mind that are competing. And normally under a werewolf transformation, the wolf mind just pushes the human mind to the side and completely takes over, and then it recedes naturally at the end of the night. And I sort of picture it as the human mind wafting wolf's bane, right? Which is like the bane suggests to me it's kind of like a reverse catnip, like it's something that you just sort of like put in front of something to scare it away. It's a repulsion. So it pushes the wolf's mind over to the side, and they're kind of competing during the night, but the human mind mostly has control. I don't know if that sounds right.
No, that does.
So would you be almost like being a wolf animagus as opposed to...
Yes, although I think when you're an animagus, the human mind and the animal mind are compatible. They're mutual. It's a mutual relationship. And I think even if you've taken the Wolfsbane potion, it's not mutual. It's still a conflict. There's something that still is, scary and frightening and intense about the experience in a way that I doubt would be the case for animagus.
All right. So it still feels bad.
Right.
Overall.
So do you think someone who's good at repelling the Imperious Curse is better at, quote unquote, better at being a werewolf and pushing that away? Is that the same kind of, does it require the same kind of mind strength?
I imagine a different one. So I found a quote to support what Gilad said. Lupin says on page 355 that when he was joined by the Marauders in their animal forms, I became less dangerous. My body was still wolfish, but my mind seemed to become less so while I was with them. So yeah, it's like your mind is either transformed into a wolf mind or, pushed out by the wolf mind. So yes, I think that is probably what Wolfsbane is doing.
Right, just much more powerfully.
Yeah. I think it's probably different skill sets from the Imperious, just because Imperious seems based in willpower mostly, whereas the wolf seems to respond to external stimuli better, where, like, if he has company or something, or, like, an anchor, then that helps with the transformation, as opposed to just, you know, internal fortitude.
Yeah.
I think that with the Imperious Curse, the thing that's always made sense to me is actually, just like with everything else that the imposter Moody says, somehow everything he teaches in his classes is very true. I don't know why he says things that are smart when he's educating the students, but he does. He says some very insightful things that hold true, and I think that's true with the Imperious Curse as well. He specifically says that it takes great strength of character, and he doesn't say strength of will, he says strength of character. And to me, that tracks, right? It's the fact that Harry is able to push it off very quickly. I don't think it has a lot to do with his willpower. I don't see Harry as someone with total confidence, right? I think that he is able to repel it in a way that even a very, very confident person without the same strength of character wouldn't be able to do. Someone who can just resist orders, you know, like the way that Harry can, who has a mind of his own entirely. That's, to me, what makes you really good at the Imperious Curse. And that's part of why Barty Crouch Jr., who we know to be a very, very driven person, takes 13 years to start resisting his father's Imperious Curse, whereas Harry takes about 5 minutes and not even that. And even against Voldemort in the graveyard.
So good.
Right?
Sorry.
And also, just to cement it further, and this is part of why it's been convincing for me, we see the imposter Moody place the Imperious Curse on Victor Crumb. Victor Crumb takes out Fleur Delacour. I'm a little unhappy about that because I think Victor Crumb's a good person, but we don't necessarily see him, be the like exceptional person that Harry is, or that Cedric is. Cedric is someone who is held up to be of incredibly strong character and it's interesting, isn't it, that Moody is not successful. The imposter Moody is not successful at imperiousing Cedric. Otherwise, surely he would do so, but he can't make it work because Cedric is on par with Harry in a way that almost no other character is in his pure like strength of character. So that to me delineates what sets aside someone who's able to resist the Imperious Curse. And for the Wolfsbane potion, I think it could be something a little bit more like, maybe not willpower, like you're saying, Irvin. I agree. It's more like, I don't know, a sense of who you are as a human and, being separate from the wolf. I think Lupin is very bad at it, actually, because he can never fully separate himself from the wolf. He's someone who's fairly uncertain and unconfident, he has never come to terms with any of his whole experience. And someone like Fenrir Greyback, actually, I think would be very good at it, and then he just sort of accepts it. But because he has fully accepted who he is as a human and as a wolf.
I wonder if that's because Lupin got turned at quite a young age, so he kind of grew up with being a werewolf. So he doesn't have the same kind of inner human, integrity sounds wrong, but I hope you know what I'm trying to say. In the same way, say, for example, Bill, who got bitten in an ambiguous way, but that happened to him when he was a full-grown adult. I think growing up a werewolf would be very different in terms of what it would do to your sense of self and your not that he doesn't have a strength of character as such. It's just he doesn't have any experience of not being a werewolf.
Mm-hmm. He would be very good at resisting the Imperious Curse, but I don't think he's good at resisting the wolf because I think they're different things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Ev, it's a question of nature or nurture. Sort of how much of it is just like Lupin is insecure and not confident as a person versus that's who society made him. I think the series comes down more on the side of nature than nurture, at least in my research and readings of it. But definitely either way. That's an incredible way of looking at it because, Lupin says that his mind became less wolfish when he had other animals to run around with, which I feel like was probably the only time that he, like, accepted the werewolf transformation as just like, well, I'm running around as a wolf, but, like, I've got some company and it's all okay. And that's probably what did it, versus not having animal companions and struggling against it. So I really love that.
I think both make sense. I think it's both just his personality, and then we can see, as you just said, with his friends, he comes more to terms with it and it's easier. But I think it might actually also be a case of how young he was, because you have not really fully developed your personality then. And isn't that Greyback who is trying to turn new werewolves as young as possible? And that also
because it's the first 6 years.
Because he says that then they might be the probability is higher that they might be on his side, which could be interpreted not only as the parents don't want the kid, or the kid is experiencing rejection throughout his life, but also maybe because the wolf side is then a lot stronger.
Right, and it would be much more difficult if you're growing up as a werewolf from a young age to be able to try to remain in the human world and to embrace that side of yourself. Mm-hmm. And actually, I think that's what makes Lupin a standout, is that because he, is such a good person in a very inherent way. I think what must be a very something that lives with him for a very long time from a young age, that he tries very, very, very hard to resist the wolf, even though he's not really sure about who he is. But at least he's able to accomplish what a lot of young werewolves might not be able to do. And that's part of what creates the conflict and the uncertainty for him about who he really is, because he can't fully be wolf because he won't accept that. He can't fully love the life of a werewolf because he will never want that.
And as complicated as Dumbledore is, this is really one of the things where I think he did a really great thing to accept Lupin at the school, and to make sure he's integrated as best as possible. Because obviously, if that hadn't happened, he would have been a complete outcast out of society, and then the turn to Voldemort's side would have been much easier.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of examples of Dumbledore's greatness, but Lupin is one of the best examples of Dumbledore's goodness.
Yes.
That's true.
Very well put. That's like a Dobby-like quote.
Ah, thank you. So, getting back to the Wolfsbane potion, now that my mind's been blown about lycanthropy in general, I want to sort of tiptoe up to the societal question of, first of all, should the ministry be required to make it available to all werewolves free of charge?
Yes.
And second of all, should taking it be compulsory?
Nope.
That is a murky one. That's a very murky one, because because it is in the sense it's a medical treatment, and people should have autonomy over their bodies and what they put in it, even if it's something that is ultimately, extremely beneficial for them. I mean, if this, I mean, where it gets tricky is say somebody's a werewolf, they've committed a crime, and they are, could then they be made to take Wolfsbane potion as a kind of a part of, I suppose they don't really do rehabilitation. I suppose maybe not. Maybe it wouldn't matter. Or
I think in a perfect society, they should never be required to drink it. They should be required to make sure they are not able to harm anyone during that time, and the society should provide them with all means necessary. If that means a safe room where they have everything, or free Wolfsbane potion, but I don't think it is the right thing and ethical to make someone drink something, even if it helps them, or take medicine, even if that helps them. And in most countries, that is also the case. You can't force someone to take treatment, even if that would be very beneficial for them. But you can, if you have like a mental illness, you are required to make sure you don't harm anyone. And but usually, I think they should not be able to tell you what you should or should not do with your body. I know it's not always the case, and I think the big problem is that often the treatment is not really available, and it seems to be this case with wolfsbane potion. It's not available for free, probably because it's not a staple drug that every hospital has, because it's just a neglected illness.
Yeah. If I can push back on this, it's not just a mental illness, it's contagious. Like, I think the biggest problem with lycanthropy is that, a werewolf wants to bite other people, which makes more werewolves. And, not to, make sweeping generalizations, but I feel like as a society, the wizards would prefer there to not be lycanthropy and there not to be werewolves. That they're like, this is not a good thing we want happening. And so if we look at it from the contagious disease aspect, then I view wolfsbane as almost like vaccines. And there is a lot more sort of compulsory guidance about vaccines where it's like, no, you can't physically make someone take it, but you can absolutely require it for them to be, part of society. And at least I think that wolfsbane would be a fairly good analog for that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but I agree with that. Like, for example, you can say, well, if you want to become a teacher, then you have to take it. But if you want to live in Alaska in a small hut somewhere where you can't hurt anyone, then you don't have to take it. So yeah, I think there's a difference between is it legally required for you to take that as soon as you have this illness, or is it just a legal requirement if you want to partake in certain aspects of society? And I think those things, there's a different answer there.
Mm-hmm. The ethical question does go beyond not only your right to your own body and to do what you will with your body, and also even the health. Although I guess what you're saying about contagion is that it's something that you can do to affect someone else. And that is an element of lycanthropy, and just generally, not even the lycanthropy part, but just being a werewolf and the lack of control that you have over yourself that distinguishes it from a lot of real world examples. I don't think we can actually think of a great real world example other than something like, are you allowed to own a tiger and not have it, secured somewhere?
Yeah. Something
to that effect, because of the it's not a matter of playing the odds or not. Like it's a fairly clear cut situation that werewolves, when they are under the moon, the full moon, that they are a pretty clear safety risk to other people. Now, whether the wizarding world is a responsible enough world to do something like that, I would question, because of their kind of lackadaisical approach to dragons. Like, I think if they're like that with dragons, it's a little hard for me to see them being, any better necessarily with werewolves, but perhaps that would be a good call. I think that, the ethical question has a lot of layers because of that element. It's definitely something far beyond just what you're doing with your own body. But it is no doubt a tricky thing. And maybe, the result would be, well, if there is a way to ensure that you are controlled somewhere, even if you haven't taken wolfsbane, then I suppose that's okay. Or if the only fail-safe way to make sure someone's secure is wolfsbane potion, then let's try to make sure we do it, but also approach it in as ethical a way as possible, where you've had the appropriate conversations with the werewolf and their parents, and, the discussions of the consequences if you can't do this, if you can't do that, and so that it's not something that's just thrown into their morning coffee where they don't know that it was put there just from the perspective of oh, this is all for the greater good, but rather to approach it from a more comprehensive, holistic way. They've talked, they've had the whole discussion, they've had the etc. But I think that in the end, the condition is such that from an ethical perspective, loath though I am to make a normative answer to this about the should or shouldn't, like according to the rules of even the wizarding world, I think that's something they would likely entertain.
Mm-hmm.
And then another thing that I think is interesting, and that's probably something we might discuss if and when, probably when we have an actual werewolf themed episode.
Yeah, I think we really need one.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, could do werewolves have culture, or is it purely a disease? Because we know that Lupin's infiltrating kind of werewolves underground. So is it something that is just like a disease and then, obviously you would want to stamp it out entirely? Or is it something that is like something that has a legitimate culture to it, and people who are werewolves should be empowered to safely continue living as they want to be living, but also without the harm and risk to the rest of the society? And how would that work? Because there are some similar things in the real world that some people would consider, okay, we shouldn't have this, but other people would consider as well, actually, this is part of the human variety. So that's kind of a tricky ethical thing, because like, was there always werewolves? Where did lycanthropy come from?
But I think it's because it's something that is contagious and not something you're born with. I think that makes the difference as to whether the morality of trying to prevent it from spreading, where the answer lies there. And on your culture point, I don't think that the werewolves can have a culture while they're werewolves. I always felt like the culture developed because of them being outcast.
They were pushed
and then
underground.
Of course you develop some kind of culture there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I was going to say, that sort of any like oppressed group, marginalized group, anyone with, like a commonality that most people don't have, will develop a community and a culture. But yeah, like, what do you do with that?
Right. And then the question of what the nature of the culture is like, we got the impression from Lupin that it's not a very wholesome one, but it could be. It could be, right? No. If it was fostered by the right person, a Lupin, for example, if he were able to gather werewolves around him and to teach them how to be good people while also having this condition, then maybe werewolf culture would be much more positive, more interesting. But, it might be depend on that question.
Yeah, I wonder if they could like create a culture with the wolfsbane. If like a bunch of werewolves get together and take wolfsbane during their transformation, and then you'll just have like a pack of wolves like running free in the forest and like living their best lives.
Very sleepy, I thought. Just a sleepy pack of wolves.
Well, they could just like hang out by the fire,
Yeah, they'll all just snooze together. Yeah.
Well, they have that in Wednesday. They have the werewolves, and they have their cages where they go to when they transform if they don't want to be running around biting people.
And and it would work because all of their menses are synced already. So
very true.
So going back to my first question is. The ministry should be required to provide this to werewolves free of charge, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Like, I get that it's expensive. I get that it's an inconvenience. But, like, this seems like such a good use of the wizards' tax galleons. Like, hire someone to be making wolfsbane potion, like, source the ingredients, and, like, really, that is what government should be doing.
Mm-hmm. And over time, it will become cheaper because there will be less werewolves because less people are going to get infected.
Exactly.
Yeah. And we don't know whether healthcare is free in Wizarding World, but I think it's implied that it is.
Well, there's nothing in St. Mungo's about like payment being required, but also like to look at it from Doyle's point of view. I think to a British writer, the idea that like a wizarding society wouldn't have free healthcare is just completely implausible and barbaric. Like, you know, she spent her whole life growing up in a society with the NHS. So I think
That's fair.
Wizards as written by J.K. Rowling definitely have free healthcare.
True, but free healthcare doesn't mean fair healthcare, and we often
No.
have the problem, like when we draw parallels from the real world, that, for example, wolfsbane is not yet classified as a drug and just experimental, and that's why you can't get it, or you need to jump through hoops to get diagnosed as a werewolf, and then you need to find
Really? 'Cause come
a
hang
werewolf
out with me
doctor,
during the full
and there's
moon.
a whole waiting list for months or years, and and if you go through all of that, then you can have it for free. And maybe Lupin is just tired and can't want to do
Yeah,
that.
but you'd have to wonder what kind of infrastructure would be needed to make wolfsbane potion, you know, mass-produced sufficiently to be there for all werewolves.
True.
Yeah. Hopefully Kingsley gets on this when he's minister. I believe he will.
Or Hermione does in our Patreon episodes, maybe.
Oh, wait. In your fanfic, she's the
yes.
minister? Ugh.
No, she's not the minister, but she works with werewolves.
She's not the minister. No.
Oh,
She's
okay. That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, she's a researcher. But yeah, you'll have to listen to us to find out.
Yes. I want to, but y'all are pretty much recording a whole separate podcast about this fanfic. There's a lot of it.
We
turned into
didn't
that,
know
yeah.
what fan fiction
Yes, that's
was.
what
We
happened.
thought like, oh, we read one fanfic and then we talk about it. Turns out they're whole books and not just like a small
And we
story.
did it like six chapters at a time, and I'm just thinking we're not going to do that with the next fan fiction because we're just going to have more shorter episodes. But yeah, we pretty much started a Patreon based podcast at this point.
Love it.
Yes.
We still recommend it though.
Yes.
Still do.
Yeah. For wolfsbane, what I like about this is that it's one of the examples of like a new magical discovery. Because I feel like that so much of, you know, the magic we see in Harry Potter, especially kind of right up until the Half-Blood Princess textbook, is just like, this is magic, as it has always been for centuries. Like, people have been making things fly with Wingardium Leviosa since the dawn of time. And I feel like sort of the portrayal of magic as a, you know, science works much better if there are, like, new discoveries happening the way wolfsbane potion did in, like, I guess the 1980s, or early 90s. So I actually really like that aspect of it from a world building point of view.
Well, to be fair, we do know that there's also very old magic that is kind of somewhat frowned upon, kind of like the cauldron, Voldemort's cauldron magic and Lily's sacrifice magic.
Yeah.
Which, you know, is ancient and old and kind of like a bit...
Right, there's kind of like a classical period of magic, probably, you know, that where they have all of the normal magic from that time period, and then maybe they don't get such a good grounding in the newer stuff. But you can imagine that was compiled in the, you know, 1700s or 1800s or something, and that's what mostly the students are learning. So they just kind of leave out the ancient magic because it's too murky and too hard to grasp. You know, it doesn't fit into the magical theory.
Too much blood and bones of your enemies.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing.
Yeah, be like, that's very hard to source on Hogwarts' budget.
Yeah, it's just a bit,
Right.
you know.
But I love the way that wolfsbane potion, I mean, it's even mentioned who makes it, and at a completely different time, it's said in passing that it's Marcus Belby's uncle, Damocles Belby.
Yes.
And that's why Marcus gets invited to the Slug Club. Of course, you know, Slughorn would be particularly attuned to that. As a potioneer, he would have watched it happen and, you know, been probably impressed by whatever, you know, maybe he even spent time trying to solve it and couldn't solve it or didn't realize it could be solved by potions. Like, I love that aspect of it too.
Yeah. I wonder, like, you know, at what point it'll, you know, become part of the Newt level curriculum. Because, like, I know it's a very, very complex potion, but it also seems like, you know, we'd want to incentivize more people to know how to brew it. But then we, of course, get into the idea of patents. Like, you know, I imagine that Damocles Belby, you know, would like to sort of maintain exclusive licensing rights over the wolfsbane for a while.
Is that a thing?
Well, it is in the real world with, like, medicine and scientific discovery.
Yeah, but maybe wizards, for once, could be better than the real world.
Well, I think
Just
it's probably not necessary. First of all, I don't think the wizarding world is really capable of that level of administrative, attention. But the thing with potions, and it's sort of true with other, in real world equivalents as well, but I think it would be quite difficult to work backwards, even for an expert potioneer, to work backwards from a finished potion. And it probably, but I guess, of course, he does share the secret because we know that Snape knows how to make it. So does he do it? Does he just publish it widely? And I don't know, or does he just tell specific people who maybe they even make requests? If someone says, I have a werewolf in my life, I want to help, and they have to appeal to him, and he has to give them like some kind of a secret list that they can't share with, like a Fidelius the list or something like that.
Oh, he might have believed that it's a sufficiently important discovery that everybody should be aware. Because if I remember correctly, the inventor of the polio vaccine didn't patent it, and just sort of said this is sufficiently important for humankind that it should just be available to everyone. And it does occasionally happen.
It's also possible that the patent has expired, because I think most scientific patents last 15 years or something like that. Maybe 20.
Yeah,
there is a number of some sort.
But like, point is, if he invented it in like 1978, then the patent would have expired at 1993. So that's also possible.
Or maybe there's a different kind of structure. So, for example, you can make it for your own use, but you can't sell it without buying some sort of license.
That's true.
Oh yeah, because there might be some sort of a quality control by an expert potioneer to make sure that it's safe for wide distribution.
Yeah. But it should definitely get added to the new potions curriculum as soon as, legally possible. Because
I mean, at least like they can at least cover the theory.
Oh yeah,
and then people who are particularly interested, and skilled can probably learn to actually make it.
Yeah,
and often schools have like different kind of exceptions for licenses, so that might also be the case.
That's true.
I suppose it's also possible that it's beyond Newt level, because they do talk of it as like possibly the most complex potion we hear about. Just that, like, it's very, very hard to make. That like Snape is one of the very few people who's up to making it. So I suppose it could be like past Newt level, that it could be the sort of like potions apprenticeship level of learning.
Yeah, or we know that healers have to train at St. Mungo's for years. So that might be the point at which you learn practically to do it, because you could probably specialize into the, wizarding pharmacist, basically. Mm-hmm. And so you would hear the theory at Newt level potentially, and then if you become a healer, you learn how to do it. That would make sense to me anyway.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so that is the the Wolfsbane potion. So we've talked about how one deals with the dark magic of lycanthropy, but we can also talk about how one deals with the dark magic of being petrified by a basilisk, which is the Mandrake restorative draught, which brings back people who are petrified. Not specifically by a basilisk, just like, in general, if you are petrified by dark magic, Mandrake restorative draught, and you're good. So the most interesting thing about this to me is that it works on Nearly Headless Nick.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which, like, I forget if this was, like, confirmed in the canon or just, like, widely understood, but it was just, like, aerosolized, and, like, Nick was spritzed with the potion, and, like, is this a thing? Can all potions be aerosolized? Like, I have so many follow-up questions on this.
I'm at the very end of maybe this podcast, we talk about kind of the definitions. And for me, I think a potion needs to be swallowed. Otherwise, if you put it on your skin, it's not really a potion. But with ghosts, they can't really swallow anything, or they try to taste by walking through it. So maybe that would be the way of letting it work with ghosts. But I don't think it would work with wizards.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. I think even through the air, I don't know. I don't feel like ghosts have any even, I don't feel like they have an aerial presence. I think that they are...
I mean, they get petrified, so there is something.
They have some sort of presence, because people can feel them passing through.
I suppose they are on Earth. They can see things, they can hear things, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
So
it's just a strange idea to me.
The basilisk stare, which can affect ghosts, is magic. So I wonder if there's a magic way to make the potion affect them. If you can cast I don't know, an infusion charm on a potion to make it work on a ghost.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone remember, is the aerosol thing canon or am I making that up?
Oh, I've never heard that, no.
I don't think that's canon.
Okay. Then, yeah, maybe a spell was cast to make the potion work on Nick. Yeah. So puzzling.
I mean, if you think about how potions work, if you swallow them, they then get absorbed into your bloodstream. So get distributed all over your body. And this distribution system doesn't work with ghosts. But if you kind of spray it in the air and push the ghost through it, then it gets distributed into his body. And then, maybe you would need some kind of spell to bind it to the ghost. If you can bind something to a ghost. But yeah, it is very confusing.
Ghosts can respond to physical stimuli because once Nick is petrified, I believe Ernie Mac gets a giant fan to waft him into the hospital wing.
Yeah,
so
right.
So there is a way to affect ghosts in the physical world.
So if a ghost was standing outside and it was kind of a windy day, does that mean they would be blown around just maybe more than anyone else would? Because they're so light.
Well, either that or the fan that McGonagall conjures is a magical fan that works on ghosts.
Right.
Or it just works because he's been petrified and something of his consistency has changed.
I kind of like that.
He has become more solid.
Like a person, a regular person who's petrified, their whole substance changes. It turns to stone. So Nick normally has no physical presence, but I like that. That feels more elegant.
Yes. Okay. But yeah, otherwise, I think the Mandrake Restorative Draft, it doesn't take a long time to brew, right? The delay is getting fully grown mandrakes.
Yeah. But mandrakes take a long time to grow.
Yes. So I guess the interesting thing here is sort of how generally applicable is the restorative draft, because it's clearly just for petrification in general, because I think Dumbledore or someone says it's it's fine, we'll use the Mandrake potion before they know that a basilisk did all this. But if there were a lot of general applications of this, then I imagine it would somehow be in some way commercially available in less than a year's time. Yeah, maybe dark magic petrification is a really rare thing despite happening in different ways.
Or it just has a very short shelf life and just doesn't work after a couple of days.
It might be just very, very niche sort of thing.
It could also be the specific Mandrake Restorative Draft we're talking about here. First of all, which I don't think that anyone except for Lockhart even uses that term. So I'm not even, who knows whether that's even what it's called or that it's a general thing in the way he describes it. Maybe it's something very specific that Sprout creates. Because I think mandrakes are used for other things. I believe in the slightly less canon account of what the Animagus potion is, that it involves mandrakes as well. So there's...
But if...
Oh, there's a mandrake leaf, isn't it, that you're supposed to hold in your mouth?
Yes, exactly, right, which isn't from the books, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
But if a mandrake were commonly used, there should be some. around. Like, you know, even if, like, you can't buy a Mandrake restorative draft, like, you know, off the shelf at, you know, Arsenius Jiggers or whatever the apothecary is, like, there should be mandrakes around if they're commonly used in magic. Like, the problem here is that they literally, like, procure mandrakes and have to wait a year for them to grow, and there's, like, nowhere else to buy ready-made mandrakes, which makes me think that they are a very rare and not commonly used ingredient.
They might not be local to Britain.
Well, yeah, but they have a year. Like, it's literally like Halloween to June. Surely, at some point, like, you can get a mandrake shipped from Indonesia.
Well, their lifespan is very short. Maybe as soon as they're mature, they have another week to live, and then the whole cycle starts again.
I also kind of wonder if the fact that they hadn't yet resolved the Chamber of Secrets mystery, and they were just thinking, you know what, we're probably going to get some more petrifications by the end of the year. Let's just do them all in one go. We don't need to do it. They'll be fine. They're not hurt. You know, they're just going to sleep for a little while.
That is f***ed up. I wonder if mandrakes. Actually, no, this is probably the case. If mandrakes have a certain, like, lifespan, you know, the way plants do, where, like, they always, you know, bloom in the fall, like, age over the winter, mature in the spring. Like, that would make more sense, that, like, all mandrakes are babies in September. Because otherwise you'd have to be able to get older mandrakes somewhere in the world.
Yeah, that's kind of what I meant. And then, like, if they're only mature for a week or two, then you really just have a very short window. And then if you add a short life, shelf life of the potion, then you really can't get it every time of the year.
Wow, you know, the Half-Blood Prince should really, like, figure out a way to make this with, like, better ingredients.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
He has too much free time, anyways.
Right, like, what does he have going on?
Yeah, imagine if instead of, like, brooding and being abusive to students, Snape just, like, put his mind towards some important problems in potioneering and just, like, really applied himself. Say,
yeah,
lot of good things.
You know, as my mother keeps telling me, "Твою энергию к мирным целям," which is if only you directed your energy towards worldlier goals.
That is such a good expression, and that's something that always, like, comes up in my mind. And it annoys me that there is no good English equivalent to that.
There's no good English analog for it. No,
there really isn't, and it's so annoying.
Yeah, did you also get that from your family a lot?
Oh yes.
Yeah. But okay, that's the Mandrake Restorative Draft. Anyone have comments, questions, or concerns on that one?
Not really. Seems ethically sound.
Yeah, we like it. We
Except
approve.
for mandrakes being... I don't know. How do they extract that? But do we have to go into plant ethics?
They chop them up and stew them.
Yeah, they chop them up and stew them. Yeah, I think we know
that.
So,
like a sprig of parsley.
But we don't have to go into that.
Or like ginger. They kind of look like ginger to me.
Yeah. There's this great Wizard Rock song by the Butterbeer Experience called A Mandrake's Lament.
Oh.
It's not easy being a mandrake baby. Yes, it's a deeply moving song, actually. So, Mandrake Draft's uses are fairly obvious. A potion whose uses are not obvious to me is an aging potion. The one time we encounter an aging potion, it's used by the Weasley twins to try getting past the age line in Goblet of Fire, without much success. You know, they do get some luxurious beards out of it, but that's about it. And so apparently a drop of aging potion ages you a few months. So, what on earth are the intended uses of this? Like, other than the magical equivalent of fake IDs?
Disguises. You could kind of, if you're very young, and you could disguise yourself as a very old person, to kind of, I don't know, rob a bank.
There have to be easier magical ways, don't there?
Well, it's not very hard. Do you mean it should? Which part should be easier?
Disguising yourself. Okay. Surely you can, like, cast an illusion spell, change your hair, like, all of that.
Yeah, but from the point of view of, like, how quickly and easily you can do it. If you already have a bottle of this, you could just take a sip and then you could be this like nondescript elderly wizard somewhere. While if you need to kind of self-transfiguration is a bit tricky. So that's harder and more time consuming. So I think it can be actually quite handy. So if you don't have Tonks's Metamorph Magus ability and you're an Auror, sometimes, well, actually, I wonder, do you just look aged or is your whole body aged? Because if you just look aged, that could be very handy for Aurors.
Yeah. No, it has to be that your body's actually aging, otherwise it wouldn't fool the age line.
Oh.
Or like the twins wouldn't even think it fools it.
Yeah.
That's what they get wrong. It doesn't fool the age line. Like maybe they think that it will age them and it only changes their appearance.
I have a fun idea. If it really changes the
Yeah.
body, you could use it as like educational purpose. Like say someone is a smoker or like lives very unhealthy. You, as the doctor, you could be like, here's an aging potion. Wow, if you are aging or living like that in 50 years, you will feel like this. Kind of as a wake-up call.
That's good. You know, you screen for debilitating diseases, cancer, and all of that.
That too.
Well, I need to know
That
because
is a great diagnostic tool then.
Yeah, I love
right,
that.
but this is never addressed how long it lasts. Like it kind of makes it sound like you just take it and then I guess it wears off, but we don't even hear about that. It must wear off.
I don't think there's any guarantees it does.
We don't know for sure, I guess, because all we ever see is them age themselves a few months, so we don't really know what. But I feel like they would probably that would have to be a much more measured decision if you're actually permanently aging yourself, even if it's just for a few months. I mean, that's a big thing, right? To age yourself up, and especially if you're going to age yourself up by years, like if you can't reverse that.
But I don't think it's permanent. I think it's reversible. Because I think otherwise that would have been made a point with the Weasleys.
They would be more concerned being stuck that way.
Yeah, Hermione's like, really, you're going to take months off your life, you know, just to get it?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Also, that I don't think that's possible. That seems like one of the things in magic that can't, just like you can't revive the dead, you can't change age. And, you know, it's this, I think if you could change age, then you would have people trying to bypass the trace by just getting themselves to 17 real quick, which is basically what Fred and George are trying, and it doesn't work. Yeah. But
the way I see it is aging potion is like a fairly basic form of magic. So there's a lot of workarounds, right? Because like we have like basic spells like Alohomora, and then you have like a fairly simple locking spell that is Alohomora proof. Whereas you have like more complex, powerful magic that you can't counteract. And so I feel like aging potion is probably closer to the Alohomora spectrum, where there's like a lot of things that supersede it.
Right. Do we think there's a de-aging potion?
So
I mean, I think so, because we have that, like, if you think about the Department of Mysteries, is that the thing that is in the bowl where you can...
that feels like something much more powerful than a regular potion, right?
Yeah. I mean, on the one hand, I feel like if there's an aging potion, there has to be a de-aging potion, you know, equal and opposite reaction and all that. On the other hand, if there was, I mean, basically a fountain of youth is what we're talking about, like, how would that not come up? You know, like, you picture people like Lockhart or like Hepzibah Smith or, you know, all these people who are really vain, like, I have to imagine they would be like, and, you know, such and such was clearly drinking, you know, youth potion because she did not look her 110 years old.
Yeah.
So it's like a wizarding plastic surgery.
Yeah.
You kind of see it.
Yeah.
I kind of could imagine that, assuming that de-aging potion is, you know, a temporary thing, it only lasts you for an hour or something, kind of to the effect, similar thing like with polyjuice. That you would have people who would do it to make themselves look younger, but it wouldn't really have a permanent effect. So it would only be something you would do for cosmetic reasons. And so it would only be more of a fashion thing, a fad, rather than something that has serious consequences, I guess.
Yeah, thinking like the implications of that, because like I could more easily see aging potion being permanent, but like societally de-aging potion can't be. And then I think logically the aging potion would also be temporary. But like you could use it, for a first date, or like, during aura training, you want to, have the stamina of a 25-year-old, things like that.
But there has to be some kind of like consequences of you using it too much. Because otherwise you could just use it all the time and
why wouldn't you want to?
Yeah.
Right. Although just like any other potion, it has the limitation of needing to create it and to brew it. And probably the more that we know for a fact pretty much, the more that you are changing your age, the more potion that you need. And you probably don't have an unlimited supply of any given potion.
Do you think your body could like build up a tolerance to these potions, like with caffeine? Where like
probably.
If you keep taking it, then you need to like chug a gallon just to de-age a couple years.
Oh, that would be interesting kind of way to have a limitation placed on something. That you can only use it a couple of times,
like
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose we sort of discussed a similar thing in the Felix Felicis episode, where what would be the long-term consequences of using it all the time and why it could potentially be a bad thing. So that probably applies to all sorts of potions in different ways.
So yeah, so you guys don't think there's like big, like far-reaching purposes for aging potion, that it's literally just like a lark because it's temporary?
I mean, except for the medical thing, I thought more of a wake-up call, but actually, like, you could diagnose then people, like, see if a tumor grows or something like that. So I know that's just it's never talked about, but I really like that idea.
Mm-hmm. That's true. It probably does age and de-age people in accordance of the trajectory their body is on or was on.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So moving along from aging potions, we can talk about an entire category of potions next, which is sleeping potions. I think it's not surprising that this is like a whole thing. Like, sleeping potions are some of the most common ones found in literature because people want to sleep.
Yeah.
Not me, obviously, but other people.
Or they want to make somebody else sleep for some reason.
It seems like this is a combination of those. And we have a few examples of ones where it's just a nice thing, it's something that helps you sleep, and then some that are a little bit more eerie.
More sinister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, do we want to talk about the less sinister ones first and work our way up? So there are 3 sleeping potions that we find in the series. So first is a sleeping draught, which is what Hermione gives to Crabbe and Goyle in the Chamber of Secrets Polyjuice caper. And this seems like a fairly bog-standard sleeping potion. Crabbe and Goyle sleep for, an hour or two, take a little snooze and wake up feeling wonderfully refreshed and confused about where their shoes went.
Would they know that they fell asleep, or is it just like kind of you're out of it? If you're going on a surgery, is it just you're out of it, or is it falling asleep and then you wake up and you realize you've been asleep for 2 days, or does it feel like time has stopped?
Or the third option, which is that your consciousness ends the second that you take the draft or the potion, and then you don't even know that you were ever out of anything, that you're ever asleep. Like, you just wake up like immediately, like in your mind, it's immediate. Yeah. That would be even different from like, falling unconscious. It would be like snap and you're in a different place. And that would make you even more confused, probably.
And Crabbe and Goyle wouldn't notice that the time is different then.
Well, that's part of what makes me think in that instance it could be that, because they never raise it as like something very weird happened. Well, I guess it would still be something weird happened to us, but it wasn't, wait, I feel like I've been asleep for a long time. What happened? Although I guess at some point they would find out that a lot of time had passed. Yeah.
Or not, because they're Crabbe and Goyle.
Yeah.
And also they're in a broom cupboard, which would be a weird place to wake up. Closed broom cupboard.
Right, I feel like that part.
And they're missing shoes.
True.
Yeah, they're like, we don't know how we got here, but something's up.
I mean, if they just sort of woken up on the couch in Slytherin common room, regardless of what happened prior to that, I'd say they'd be like, just got sleepy, whatever.
Like, I actually think the clever thing would have been to like shove them into like an empty classroom, like seat them on chairs and being like, yeah, you just came in here for a nap. You don't remember that?
Yeah, just ate too much during the feast and got tired and fell asleep.
Yeah. I actually think there is something to support the fact that it's not just like a sensation of going to sleep, because the text says that they chewed greedily, looks of triumph on their faces. Then, without the smallest change of expression, they both keeled over backward onto the floor.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. It's like it's an instant. It takes over everything instantly.
Yeah. I will say, I know it's a movieism, but I do kind of like the one where they're running past the cupboard and you hear the hollering from inside.
Yes. Do you think that it's possible to wake someone up from let's say, this sleeping potion, like in the middle before the effects of the potion have run out?
Because it's a fairly basic one, Hermione is, she calls it a simple sleeping draft and is brewing it in year 2. I think so.
Really?
But just via potion, not just by prodding someone.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay. I thought you can wake them up by shaking them, and that wouldn't make sense.
No. I think there'd be like an antidote or something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You could probably do something like enervate. That might work.
Yeah.
Well, this is like, I know we might talk later about the difference between potions and spells, but I do wonder whether they don't really cross. Like, you can't do a potion to undo a spell or vice versa. Right?
I don't see why not.
I think
they seem like they're different territories, but maybe we can think of examples where that does happen. I'm not sure.
I would imagine like the very basic things that are not very complicated, that might not be a problem. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
I think that like simpler sleeping drafts and aging potions like can be affected by magic, because I mean the aging line isn't a potion, but very much interacts with the aging potion. But I think for the more complex stuff, there'd be sort of a very specific antidote.
Yeah, that could be.
So our second sleeping potion, and it is fun that this is a 2-4-6 ring with the sleeping potions. Our second one is in book 4, which is a potion for dreamless sleep that Dumbledore gives to Harry at the end of Goblet of Fire. And this is the one that's very much presented like as a kindness of just the like, you've been through some shit here, just like go to bed and relax.
And that would be good to have in real life.
Yeah, that seems like a sort of thing Madame Pomfrey would keep in stock in the hospital wing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, unlike the sleeping draft, here there is a sensation of like you're falling into sleep or something.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
No, I think so. You fall asleep, but you don't have nightmares, you don't dream, and you wake up feeling rested. I think that's what I got from it.
Yeah, he felt himself becoming drowsy at once. Everything around him became hazy. The lamps around the hospital wing seemed to be winking in a friendly way. His body felt as though it was sinking deeper into the warmth of the feather mattress. Before he could finish the potion, his exhaustion had carried him off to sleep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's very much like you're falling asleep, you're fully cognizant of what's going on.
Yeah, and in a sort of a pleasant way rather than, oh my God, I'm falling asleep and like when I don't want to.
Yeah.
Right.
Rather than keeling over. Okay, and then we get to the sleeping potion of the series, which is the Draught of Living Death.
Excellent name.
It already sounds horrible.
I know. It's such a good name. We've talked about this, but like wizards do have a flair for nomenclature sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So here I'm just going to tell our listeners to check out episode 64 about disbelieved deaths, where we went like deep into the Draught of Living Death. Like I listened back to it. We talked about it for like 25 minutes. So starting around the 1 hour, 18 minute mark. But to quickly summarize what we talked about there was a really cool theory back in the day that in the cave that Voldemort, set up for the locket and everything, that the water in the cave is actually Draught of Living Death. Just because a lot of the descriptions of the water make it seem like it's not just water, it's like sinisterly smooth and like ripples vanish too fast. Just like basically there's a lot of text that suggests like that water isn't actually water. And, that would work well in terms of like whoever drinks the lake water then falls asleep. And so Voldemort can interrogate them and figure out why they're trying to get his Horcruxes out of the cave.
Okay. I thought you meant like if you fall in, then you will just fall asleep and slowly die and become one of his army.
No, because the potion in the cave makes you very thirsty, but water disappears when it approaches you. So maybe water disappears, but the draught of living death that's available right there can be ingested, and so that's the setup of the whole thing.
But if you ingest too much, it will kill you. So I suppose from Voldemort's point of view, either is fine. Either the victim is asleep and he can interrogate them, or dead, and then, not like he cares.
Sorry, do you have receipts on that? Because I don't think too much of it kills you. I don't remember that from my research.
I thought there is this thing where there is an amount for sleep, and then the amount for, like, there's like a 1, 2, 3 situation. Maybe it's kind of a common occurrence, a common type of potion, and I could be thinking of something else, but that's what I thought. If I find the evidence, I will I will bring it.
Yeah, because I don't remember that. Like, it says that, you'll be in such a powerful sleep that they call it the living death, but I don't think it actually kills you. Unless it's, like, somewhere in the Apocrypha.
Yeah.
I mean, except for if you drown in it and drink it constantly, and then you just die by drowning, or like even if you don't drown that, like you would just die because you don't get any food or anything, and just sleep until you're dead.
I mean, yeah, sure, there's that. But part of this theory is predicated on the fact that the draught of living death is weirdly irrelevant to the plot. So it's introduced in Snape's first potions lesson. It's literally the first thing Snape asks is, what do I get if I add powdered root of asphodel to an infusion of wormwood? And he tells us about the draught of living death. The other things he talks about are a bezoar and wolfsbane, both of which have plenty of relevance to our plot later on. Same thing in Slughorn's first lesson. Slughorn presents Amortentia, Veritas Serum, Polyjuice Potion, and Felix Felicis, and then they're brewing Draught of Living Death. Again, all of those other potions prove highly plot relevant, and Draught of Living Death is just there. That's the last we ever hear from it. And so it's very weird for Joe to talk so much about a magical concept and for it to not then have any future relevance. So that's why, especially before Deathly Hallows came out, this was like a really popular theory where everyone was like, well, Draught of Living Death has to come up somehow, some way after all the fanfare it received.
I think it's also very elegant that the Draught of Living Death, if that is the quote-unquote water in the cave, that there are literally the living dead living inside of it.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Exactly, yeah. Nick Jeffrey made a similar
poetic
point. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Remind me.
Yeah, the Draught of Living Death containing the living dead. Ooh.
Remind me, did Dumbledore drink the water?
Yes.
So
yes, he has to.
So that, because he is weakened, do you think that is part of it?
Yes. Basically, I think at this point, Dumbledore has such a cocktail of stuff coursing through his veins between the Ring Crux curse and whatever Snape did to stop it, between the potion in the cave, and then between the water in the cave, that, like, whatever Dumbledore has going on, whatever combination it is, like, it's amazing the man was still standing.
Yeah, because how much do you need to drink of it to fall asleep?
We don't know.
Because it seems like he took like at least a sip. He drank it, and that wouldn't he have, like, if it's such a powerful sleeping potion, wouldn't he have been just falling asleep?
So powerful, I think, is in terms of like how strong the sleep is and how hard it is to reverse. I don't think powerful like necessarily implies like instant. I think it's more that, like, once Dumbledore fell asleep from this in an hour or 2 hours or whatever it is, then he'd be very hard to wake up.
But like potions usually don't take an hour to start. It's quite soon after drinking them, and they're doing a lot of things after he drank that.
That's true.
But it is true. We don't know confirmation. Like, there could be potions that work on a bit of a delay. Or again, part of the cocktail Dumbledore has taken is, interacting in weird ways.
Yeah, that might be true, because I really like the theory, but
me too.
This is the only thing that I'm like, if he drank that, he should already be asleep. Because there's too much time in between. But if he only took like a tiny zip, maybe that just makes him sleepy. But then, yeah, if it's such a kind of strong potion.
Well, the way it's described is that Harry splashes it kind of all over. He like clumsily feeds it to Dumbledore. It doesn't really go in his mouth.
Yeah.
But I do tend to think that Dumbledore probably ingested some, because actually it even helps him. The minute that he drinks some water, he's able to conjure the fire, and he wouldn't have been able to do that, I think, beforehand. Yeah. So somehow the water actually gives him some kind of at least hydration, if nothing else, right? Because he was just fighting the other potion first.
The water counteracts the dehydrating effects of the cave potion. But the text says that Harry, tips the water clumsily over Dumbledore's face. So it makes it seem like he just probably ingested a very little bit of it.
But even if he did ingest more, I don't mind the idea that it takes some time to go into effect, because the draught of living death already has equivalence to not necessarily anything in the real world. Maybe there's something that's not so different from it, but at the very least in tales that exist in the real world. And, for example, in Romeo and Juliet, that's a big plot point towards the end. Yeah. I don't remember now whether, Juliet drinks it and then it takes a while. I think it does kind of take effect kind of quickly, but you could kind of imagine that, in these stories, you have someone who drinks it and then goes and, goes to the tomb, and then they sleep or something like that, that it's the sort of thing, because it's such an enduring, permanent-ish, kind of thing, that it takes time to really get through your veins and settle into you. It's not a regular poison in a regular way.
Yeah, because also there could be uses for a slow-acting, powerful sleep potion. I imagine, if you wanted to put this potion towards, less than charitable uses, it would actually be really good to be like, here's a potion, and, I just tip it into your cup and you drink it, and then an hour later you, fall into an irreversible sleep. Yeah, I think that might be a big feature rather than a bug of the potion.
Irreversible sleep does not sound like a feature.
Sorry, not irreversible. Not irreversible, but a very, very powerful sleep.
Yeah, because I think it is sad that it can last forever, right?
Yeah. Right.
Yes.
Right, if it's done badly.
So,
yeah.
I like the idea, regardless of whatever that is in the lake, that Voldemort probably set the Guinness World Record for most amount of potion. Any potion.
Yeah. That he was just brewing it in an industrial sized cauldron.
That's right.
How did
it get there?
Wow. He really, if you think about the ingredients, he would really... Can you kind of, you can't really multiply potions. I don't think that is possible.
I don't think so.
So he would really need, he would have been a farmer just farming all the ingredients and then just industrializing.
Yeah, be suddenly the price for asphodel in the wizard world tripled in, 1977 for reasons no one knows.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's all these dark ages of Voldemort, as I like to think of it, right? Between the time that he disappears from Borgin and Burke's and reappears, to apply for the office of Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher. And then there's another Dark Ages after that. That's sort of in the middle of it, where we don't really know what Voldemort's up to. And I love the idea that he is spending 5 years just sitting somewhere brewing potion nonstop.
Yeah.
Because that's part of his evil plan.
I want to see, like, I just picture him as a farmer, you know?
Yeah.
Gardening. I like that idea much more.
Yeah, he's like, tilling the soil. Yeah, it's fun. Yeah. And if Draught of Living Death is, like, actually relevant to the plot and in the cave, that would give us the 7 ingredients of today's special. So today's 7 ingredients are a hypothetical 7, because it's the 7 potions we're introduced to in the initial potions lessons of Snape and Slughorn.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
The Wolfsbane, the Bezoar, the Polyjuice, Felix Felicis, Amortentia, Veritaserum, and then Draught of Living Death would make 7. So we'll stand by it.
Nice.
There's always 7. When you think there's 6, there's actually 7. That's the rule of Harry Potter.
Exactly. Draught of Living Death is actually the first potions recipe we are privy to. It's the first one where we learn what the ingredients are. So we learn 2 from Snape and then 2 more from Slughorn. So it's, and like, I feel like this is the one potions recipe everyone can quote. What would I get if I added powdered root of asphodel to an infusion of wormwood? Mm-hmm. So I looked up what all of these are. So asphodel is a type of tall white lily.
Obviously.
Right, which is what lends credence to the whole theory of like Snape is talking in the language of flowers, blah, blah, blah. And wormwood is a bright green plant that is notably associated with bitterness. So apparently Snape is bitter about killing the lily with the green eyes.
Yeah.
Elegant, yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then in Slughorn's class, we find out that it also involves Sopophorus beans and valerian roots. Now, I know very little about botany, so I was literally Googling these potions ingredients to find out what's real and what isn't.
I understand. Would have done the same.
Yeah. So valerian is actually a real-life sedative or sleeping aid. Oh. So, maybe the Muggles have, slightly cracked the code here. Whereas the Sopophorus plant is a magical invention. It's something Joe came up with. And, like, what an absolutely fantastic name. Like, Sopophorus beans, from soporific, meaning makes you fall asleep. It's really clever.
Oh, I just looked up the translation from Valerian to German. Yes, that's something that you would, I think, I don't know, my grandmother would in the youth, I don't know, like a couple of years ago, it was really sold as you have a couple of drops of valerian. We just called it Baldrian.
Yeah, it still is in the UK anyway.
Yeah,
you can still buy it.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, because my grandmother also used to talk about valerianka.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Which is
That's
like
the same thing.
a sleep aid. Oh,
Yeah, it's the same plant. My grandmother used to grow it because she would just sort of stick her face into it and as a
And then sleep.
as a kind of like, this is supposed to be relaxing because you can.
So really, Ev's grandma and Voldemort have so much in common.
Oh my God, am I Delphi?
Oh God.
Fear not, dear listeners. I cannot fly at all.
Yeah. Okay, but do you have?
That's what she would say.
But do you have a to-do list reminding yourself to bring back the dark in case you forget?
No, I am forgetful, but I do not have a list.
Maybe you just forgot.
Also, I have tried to look up what the hell I was talking about with regards to the 1 drop to sleep, 3 drops to die. And it's clearly from some kind of other novel, but I can't find what. Because the most similar thing I could find in Half-Blood Prince is that when Slughorn is impressed by Harry's potions, said 1 drop will kill us all. But that's not at all what I thought was the thing.
And that's also
yeah,
movieism.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So listeners, please, this is bothering me now. If you have read something which has a sleeping draft that has this really close kind of dose situation like that, please leave a comment and tell me what it is, because it's bugging me now.
Yeah. I will say, like, I don't know that Joe, like, always puts a ton of thought into the ingredients for potions. But I feel like in this case, kind of like with Polyjuice, she really, really did. Like, everything is here for a reason.
Well, in the Pottermore article that is part of the recommended reading we have, she does explicitly mention how much, even though she disliked chemistry, how much she enjoyed actually researching potion ingredients, kind of almost despite herself.
Well, because in the History of Magic exhibition, I don't know if any of you had a chance to go, but she talks a lot about Culpepper's Herbal and how she really loves, like, reading about, like, plants that were considered magical and just, like, the uses for them.
Yeah, well, it is, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing, and it makes you think about all the ingredients in the real world. And, well, first of all, the question of, is it magical? I mean, as far as, if we're saying from the perspective of the continuity inside the universe, if muggles use a given ingredient that's also used in potions, is it because it has inherently magical properties, or are witches and wizards kind of deploying the natural properties in potions or in nature to make potions? Like, what is the line there? Like, are there... I guess there are some magical plants, but it doesn't feel like they ever use magical plants in... Oh, I suppose so, though. Some of those things that are in here, like saprophoros beans, those don't exist. So I suppose there is something.
It's a great question. I always thought that, like, magical plants were sort of concealed from muggles. Like, that would be what you study in herbology. So I feel like if it's a muggle plant, then it just has those muggle effects. And what makes it a potion is the magical ingredient. So in this case, the saprophoros bean. That's what sort of takes it from, like, a regular, like, sleep medicine into, like, oh, you, like, fall into a coma.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But there's also a really fun bit of Apocrypha that I found. So back in ye olden days, Joe made these, like, famous wizard cards for, like, I think the Prisoner of Azkaban video game or something. And, like, she actually did write them. So, like, you can take them as canonical. And so there were famous hag cards that she made for one of them. And here is one of those famous hag cards. Letitia Somnolens. Medieval, dates unknown. This spiteful hag was jealous of the king's daughter and caused her to prick her finger on a spindle tainted with a draught of the living death. A young wizard who had smeared his lips with Wiggenweld potion kissed the princess and brought her out of her trance.
Sounds familiar.
I know, bit of deja vu here.
Absolutely.
I adore this. I love that Muggle fairy tales are just, like, actual wizarding history with a twist.
I firmly believe that anytime there's a magical element of any fairy tale or any story, that we can suppose in the wizarding world that there is some kind of a source of that. I think it's wonderful.
Yes.
And here is me wondering why it wasn't in Tales of Beedle the Bard. Because it's true, of course.
Because it's actual history. Show some respect to Madame Somnolence. She's not just a fairy tale.
Also, what an excellent surname for somebody who works in this kind.
What a perfect surname.
It's very. I think Rowling really likes the nominative determinism side of things.
Yes, she does. I will also say Wiggenweld potions are apocryphal. Those are nowhere in the books. I know they're very popular in the video games. Apparently, Wiggenweld potions just, like, are all-purpose healing potions in, like, Wizards Unite and Hogwarts Mystery and Legacy and all the rest of them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It kind of makes sense that there would be some kind of potion like that, because we already know that the Zoars have this all-purpose effect as well.
Yeah.
And maybe there would be a potion that generally... Just kind of like also in the spell side of things, we have Finite is sort of a similar idea that it just kind of whatever is going on, it doesn't always work, but not for very powerful spells, but it kind of lifts the effect of jinxes. And then you could have a potion maybe like this, and we don't have any evidence of one from the books directly, of a potion that just has a general purpose effect like that. But it would make sense that there would be something. Maybe it wouldn't work on everything, and I would be a little skeptical that it could work on the Draught of Living Death. But, I can see it.
Well, and also what an interesting way to administer potions is by kissing. You know, that isn't often talked about in the canon either. But apparently that works.
Right.
Isn't Wigan, isn't that a plant too?
I admit I didn't research that because I didn't take it as canonical. But if we do a cursory Google...
Yeah, I think so, right?
yes. Yeah, apparently it's a type of rowan wood.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, I just Googled. Blah blah blah. Celebrating the virtues of mountain ash or Wigan tree, being primarily that no witch will come near it.
Oh.
So it is. It is kind of protection against magic. So that makes sense.
What do we think in the magical world, or in the wizarding world? What do we think are the effects of talismans or amulets? Because that's something that doesn't really come up. And I guess the idea of talismans and amulets, as far as I've heard of them in other stories, is to ward against magic, kind of similar to what this is. So obviously witches and wizards wouldn't use them, but do they work? Like, are there actual objects that kind of fend off magic somehow, or magical people even?
I think we hear about them, but in a sense that they aren't very real. Because I think isn't there like a brisk trade in amulets, protection amulets at Hogwarts at one
right
point?
When the basilisk is on the loose.
And then Neville ends up smelling of something because he just tries to buy everything that might help.
Yeah. Like, I imagine a talisman could work, but I think it would be fairly narrow in scope. Like, you know, this talisman, you know, wards against certain spells, or this talisman, you know, protects you from, I don't know, like mind magic or whatever it is. Like, I don't think you could have just something that, like, neutralizes magic altogether. I think it would have to be sort of, you know, narrowly tailored to whatever you're trying to accomplish.
Do we think magic works as well in places, sorry, this is a little bit off the beaten track, but in places where there's a lot of electricity, like just in the same way that electricity doesn't really work in very magical places? Do we think somehow like electricity or magnets or like something a little bit more modern and kind of like the quote unquote muggle version of magic, whether that somehow makes magic weaker or a little bit like there's other signals in the air that mess with it? Because like, I get the impression like in Hogwarts, magic is the only thing in the air, and that makes it able to operate no problem. And other things just have no chance when there's so much magic in the air. And I wonder if the same thing would happen vice versa, like that electricity or even like cell signals has some kind of an potential interaction with magic, that they operate on a similar-ish plane.
I don't think in Harry Potter that's the case, or other magic systems where it is. But if that was the case, then the whole muggle baiting that Arthur Weasley talks about would be less of a thing, and people accidentally like buying magical artifacts in charity shops and things like that. I think magic is fine around Muggle stuff. It's just Muggle stuff isn't great around magic. That's my understanding anyway.
I agree, because otherwise we'd hear in Deathly Hallows about the trio like hiding out by a cell phone tower or an electric plant.
Yeah.
That's funny. They wouldn't be able to use magic either, maybe, but maybe it would be...
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
good
but
idea. Yeah.
I think on balance they'd take that chance.
Like I know, like in the Rivers of London magic system, the magic fries electrical, like everything that's not analog, basically, which is quite fun.
Yeah, and in the fantasy series I'm reading right now, they actually talk about rowan wood sort of negating magic, so that's also a thing.
Yeah, I think iron as being anti-magic, like sort of to repel fairies, is kind of a common one in folklore as well, so there would be stuff.
Yes. So, getting back to the potions thing, let's talk about some of Voldemort's favorite potions. My biggest issue here is that they don't have proper names. So we're just gonna call them the Baby Mort potion and the Resurrection potion, and then the potion in the cave. So let's talk about the Baby Mort potion first, which is what gives Voldemort his little rudimentary baby body in Goblet of Fire. So all we know is that this potion is made with unicorn blood and snake venom from Nagini. And alongside a spell or two that Voldemort invented, this potion is what goes into sustaining his, baby corporeal form after it's been made, which, there's a whole world of theories about how he made the baby body.
There's all sorts of unpleasant theories involving Bertha Jorkins and stuff.
Yeah, none of them are nice.
No.
None of them are fun, happy theories. But yeah, Voldemort says that this is a potion which would return me to a rudimentary, weak body of my own, a body I would be able to inhabit while awaiting the essential ingredients for true rebirth. And then he later says, I will soon return to an almost human form and strong enough to travel. So yeah, this seems to be the potion that, sustains his baby form, because otherwise I imagine it would expire, kind of like most things that Voldemort possesses. And it's kind of unclear if this potion is Voldemort's own invention, or if it's used alongside a spell or two that he invented. You can really kind of read it either way.
Or it could be used more of that ancient magic stuff that people don't really practice just because it's unpleasant and ethically complicated, but obviously Voldemort wouldn't care about any of that.
Yeah. It does lend credence to Rita Skeeter's claims in the article about Harry Potter Disturbed and Dangerous that, serpents are often used in the worst kinds of dark magic. Because this does seem like the worst kind of dark magic. Mm-hmm. I wonder how much snakes, and snake ingredients are naturally inclined towards dark magic use, and how much of it is just the fact that, snakes fit dark wizards' vibes, ever since Herpo the Foul, and, the ingredients are, just at hand or top of mind when they're, concocting their evil brews.
Maybe it also depends on the snakes.
Yeah.
Because I can't remember, the cute little grass snake is going to be particularly good for evil shenanigans.
Mm-hmm.
Do we know what kind of snake Nagini is?
I don't believe we do.
She's a python, isn't she? Or something along those lines.
It kind of seems like it, but I don't think we know for sure.
No, not for sure, no.
Just a very big, unpleasant snake.
Yeah, we know that she's big.
Yeah.
That's confirmed.
What is the kind of official, sounds weird, but official way of coming back after you've been killed, but you have a Horcrux? How do you resurrect yourself? Is the kind of Baby Mort potion the natural step in between, or could you directly go to the resurrection potion? How do you get back to a body?
I think it's a pretty dark process. And this gets into the Baby Mort theories.
Yeah.
But yeah, because the flesh, blood, and bone potion is a, quote, old piece of dark magic, clearly there exists a potion to go from a Baby Mort to a fully grown, walking, talking adult wizard.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, what is the general case is the question.
Yeah, the question is, do you need the Baby Mort step, or could you just inhibit any kind of body and then do the resurrection potion? And Voldemort just does that to kind of stabilize his soul into this body, so he doesn't have to jump from body to body, and because I think we know that the bodies he inhibits usually just die after a while, right?
Yeah, so, I think that, this whole potion, the Baby Mort potion, the Resurrection potion, are the, normal, for lack of a better word, way to do to go from Horcrux soul bit to a person again. I think where Voldemort's own spells come in are in sustaining Baby Mort for a year.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, otherwise, the process goes, you create the baby, you immediately, ploop the baby into a giant cauldron, and you get resurrected.
You grab any sort of enemy, and Voldemort is like, no, I need Harry, and that's why I need a stable body to kind of form my evil plan to get to Harry.
Yeah.
But I think also something to keep in mind is that there isn't really a normal way to sort of recover out of a Horcrux, because it's such an unusual thing to do.
Yeah.
And splitting soul 7 ways is definitely hasn't been done before, and it's unclear whether creating a Horcrux at all has really been done since, was it Herpo the Foul that's invented the whole thing?
Yes.
So I don't think it's clear that, dark wizards have really been like making Horcruxes at their leisure since then. It is also entirely possible that not only Voldemort is doing this new thing with 7 ways instead of 1, but also that there isn't really a lot of knowledge around what's supposed to happen apart from whatever Herpo the Foul left behind in terms of research around Horcruxes. So I think Voldemort is really like in an uncharted territory a lot of the time, so he has to really figure that out. So I don't think there is a normal way.
Yeah
he might have been spending a lot of that time since his body was destroyed, just trying to figure it out and trying things, and then have those things not worked. And I mean, the good thing going for him is that he has no risk of actually dying because of his Horcruxes. So he can try anything, right? He can try 50 different things and have all of them fail, and he's just going to lose strength, but, have a chance to try again. And so maybe it's like a Groundhog Day kind of thing. Like he's trying slightly different variations of things, like different potions, and like it all explodes. And then he's like back to spirit form, and then he tries again. It's like, no, it didn't work this time, but eventually he figures it out. I mean, that's kind of an interesting idea for how magic gets discovered, is when people go through, processes like this that take them completely out of the norm of your ordinary witch or wizard, that gives them the time and circumstances to discover things that no one else would have ever discovered. I could envision Voldemort trying things like that. Yeah.
But I think there must have been like an original plan that maybe Voldemort, like maybe it's lost and Voldemort doesn't have access to it, but someone who would invent Horcruxes with the goal of continuing to live after someone killed you, would probably not just want to be a soul and then try to figure out if there's a way back.
And the fact that the resurrection potion is an old bit of dark magic means that, like, clearly, like, this all was done before. And sort of, we don't know how general the applications are, but, like, there can't be too many scenarios where you end up with, like, half a soul of a dark wizard in a not a full body, and you're trying to create a full body.
Or is it a true resurrection potion? Could you resurrect someone who is dead, but then you would have some kind of Deathly Hallows situation, and just because Voldemort's soul is still there, he can actually be resurrected?
Oh, that
like fully.
Maybe.
That could be a good generalized way. Like, yeah, it could be a way to, like, bring back someone's body, whereas the Voldemort and the Horcrux ensure that you bring back the mind as well as the body. Oh, interesting.
And I think you're right. There would have to be instructions laid out in Magic Most Evil. Is that the book? I think that's the book.
Yeah.
Yes.
About what you would do if your body was destroyed before your Horcruxes were. But something about it, I at least the baby Mort part of it, I don't know why I'm calling it baby Mort. It's something you invented, but it's great.
Yeah. Is there a better way to refer to that?
Is there a better way? No. But yeah, the fact that it's snake venom in particular, I guess it could be that that's just what anyone would do, but... Well,
Herpo the Foul was also the first one with a basilisk, so I think he also had a snake fetish.
Yeah, he just liked right, those snakes.
Yes. By the way, when they say that they milk Nagini, are they just milking her of her venom, or are they milking her of something else?
Venom. Yeah.
Venom.
Okay, and that's what goes into this potion.
Let's leave it at
right?
venom.
Yeah, no, that's actually like a normal. That's actually a real way to describe it. That's not like a weird Harry Potter thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
okay. Well, I remember just every single time I come across that line, just thinking, "That's I've never heard that before. I'm not sure I want to hear it again." But maybe that's a real thing.
You're not alone, because I've seen, I think I have some of the like art
Oh yeah,
for
that's
Harry Potter,
horrible art.
and one of the illustrators clearly didn't know that milking a snake means extracting venom from where the fangs are. So he made this like concept art of Nagini with basically breasts on the side,
Right.
which is rather horrific. But like, no, yeah.
Please never send this to me. Listeners, please do not send this in. Do not share this with us.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. But just to be clear, that's just what it's called when you get the venom out of a snake.
Yeah.
Right, but here's a question then. If they're milking Nagini, that's after Voldemort has been restored to the baby form. So that means that the venom must be used for something. Either it's what he has to continue taking the potion in order to stay alive. He just has to keep taking it and taking it and taking it. The same potion he used to bring him to the baby form in the first place. Or maybe there's a third potion. There's one that brings him to the baby form. There's one that sustains him in the baby form. And then there's one that brings him back fully to life.
So the baby more potion of venom and unicorn blood, I think, is what sustains him in the baby mort form. Mm-hmm. Because there's a... God, what is the term?
Well, it doesn't quite... It says it would return me to a rudimentary weak body of my own. This one, no?
Yes, but that's just the instructions. Because basically there's the baby more potion, there's the quote, spell or two of my own invention, and then there's the resurrection potion. Mm-hmm. So like it's a 3-step process. I think you could milk Nagini before you had the baby, though. Because, like, if Voldemort could communicate that to Wormtail, like, Wormtail's the one doing it either way.
Yeah, if you need, like, industrial quantities of venom, you probably want to have, like, a couple of jars full in advance.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe the potion stabilizes him, and then just, like, topping it up with the venom just makes him stronger. So it doesn't necessarily have to really change something, just like gives him more energy.
Yeah.
One theory I've never heard anywhere else, but I've thought of is that the reason Voldemort looks snake-like, so snake-like, is partly the snake venom that he is ingesting throughout that whole year, which would mean he's not quite as snake-like in his first round. I mean, he must still be recognizable because people see him and they think, oh, they immediately know that it's Voldemort. But I can't help but think that would have an effect on him. And maybe that's part of what he is ingesting in his first, transformation that causes his body and his face to change in the first place. Something with snake venom. Maybe it's related. Maybe it's a totally separate thing. But he clearly has been experimenting a lot with snake-related substances and in a way that is permanently changing him. Anyway, so that's sort of what I was wondering, if you think that's a possibility, that it makes him more snake-like because he's been taking it for a full year.
Well, they say you are what you eat, so...
That's very good. So I just finished reading Grace Candido's Voldemort book, and she makes a very compelling case for why Voldemort chose to look like a snake, and how that was sort of a deliberate transformation on his part. So I could go that way, or I could go with Gilad's theory that, Voldemort is what he eats. I think both really work, and I like them, so I can't quite decide.
That means that Harry will forever be a tiny fraction of Goyle's toenails. No, hair. They do hair, not toenails.
Yes. That also means that Voldemort technically should be looking a little bit like a unicorn and not just a snake. So, are there any descriptions
he sparkles in the certain light.
Right, like, do we have descriptions of him, like, having a horn or a swishy tail? I think we'll need to comb through the text.
He might have a horn, all right.
Yeah.
Does he then also look like Harry and Wormtail a little bit?
He has Harry's eyes.
He has
And
Harry's eyes.
his father, I guess.
Yeah.
And Wormtail's hand.
Oh, God. I will say, talk of Harry, the sentence that Voldemort says about how he had to use Harry's blood in order to, like, be even more powerful than ever before. That's interesting. I don't think we ever encounter, like, a potion where, like, the feelings between ingredient and drinker factor into the power.
Are you sure that's not just dramatic effect?
Yeah, I was wondering that too.
Well, if it's dramatic effect, Voldemort went an awful way out of his way for it.
Yeah.
Voldemort literally delayed his resurrection by a year and went through this whole rigmarole. So I think Voldemort definitely believes it, like whether or not
but he needed it for the optics to see this stupid baby. He can't thwart me. I'm so powerful.
I think so too.
I think all things being equal, I think Voldemort would rather have a body and then, do a bit of optics damage control.
I think he's also he's very afraid of what's going to happen when he comes back if he doesn't somehow one-up Harry, because he knows that he wasn't able to kill him the first time, and he doesn't know why. So he thinks that he has to do something a little bit extra because he keeps trying to kill Harry, right? He can't even touch Harry and when he's in Quirrell's body. Like, something is force fielding against Voldemort, like, over and over again every time he tries to kill Harry. He needs to do something a little bit more fundamental to get onto the same side of the blood-brain barrier with Harry. And this is his idea of how to do it, is to share Harry's blood. And therefore, they're bound together. So Harry can no longer be separate from Voldemort. He has to be, and of course that's how Voldemort seals his fate. But I think that's his idea of why he must do it. It's going to make Voldemort more powerful because Harry is his greatest enemy. And also because that's his only way of actually sending Harry off.
And also we know he's not...
And he knows about the prophecy.
And he's not always rational because he picks, like, notable things as his Horcruxes instead of something that's actually difficult to find and destroy. He picks the things that have meaning.
Yeah. I'll also say, I think he was probably really freaked out by the Quirrell episode where, like, Quirrell couldn't even touch Harry. And he's like, okay, no, if I come back as my full badass Dark Lord self, like, and I can't even touch the kid I'm trying to kill, like, he's not about that. So I think that's why he's working so hard.
That's the first thing he does, right? The second he comes back, he does the whole, like, I can touch you now, right?
Poke.
That is so exciting to him. And he succeeds. And I don't think it's actually because of the fact that he took Harry's blood. I think he would have been able to touch Harry anyway. But I'm not sure. Maybe he wouldn't have. Maybe that was his solution.
I don't think so. I think the magic implies that he could only touch Harry because he imbibed his blood.
Yeah.
Right.
And he knows about the prophecy and knows that there is someone who would have the power to defeat him, right? So if he knows there's something happening and then he figures out that if he takes Harry's blood, and that's what makes the potion more powerful, of course, the whole that he can touch him now, that maybe he thinks, okay, that is the power and I can kind of get around it. And that needs to be the first step when resurrecting himself, because otherwise he'll just be killed again over and over until all of his Horcruxes are gone.
I don't think we can blame Voldemort for this decision either, because, the sum of it is he doesn't take Harry's blood, he's screwed. He takes Harry's blood, he's screwed. And he just tries the most dramatic thing, hoping that it'll swing in his favor. But and of course,
done that.
Yeah. But of course, what Voldemort hasn't counted on, and you have to question whether Voldemort even cares about this, but certainly Dumbledore cares, which is why, he's so excited to hear that Voldemort took Harry's blood, is the fact not only that Voldemort will be unable to touch Harry, which is going to be true no matter what, but also that when the time actually comes for Voldemort to die, that Harry won't die and that he will be in King's Cross and be able to come back because of the fact that Voldemort took the blood. That's the differentiating factor, not the fact of whether Voldemort will survive or not. He's done for either way. He has had so many things working against him by this point. And the effect of love and the love bond, whatever it's called, love protection from Lily is going to count against him so many times over, whichever decision he takes at this point.
But yeah, just going back to the fact that, like, assuming that the magic is actually magicking and he is more powerful using Harry's blood, I think it's such a hallmark of dark magic that, like, emotions matter. You know, with unforgivable curses, you have to mean them, type of thing. And this is where we can see that that type of emotion can even impact potions in terms of dark magic. So just, I find that fascinating. I wonder if he would also be more powerful if you took the flesh of a much more faithful servant. Because, like, Wormtail is his servant, but faithful servant, willingly given.
No, very reluctant one.
Like, willingly given is doing an awful lot of work in that sentence. I think if, like, Barty Crouch Jr. had chopped off his hand for Voldemort, because that would be willingly given. He'd be like, do you want my whole arm? Like, how much of my body do you want? I got you, bro.
He'd probably chop it off himself.
Oh, yeah, enthusiastically, mind you. I think Voldemort actually would have been even more powerful if he was using Barty Crouch Jr. Or somehow Bellatrix to resurrect himself.
If that's true, do you think Voldemort knows that? That the emotions matter?
I think, and I actually really like this theory, is that Voldemort knows but doesn't respect it. Okay. Like, I think Voldemort has so much more respect for the feeling of hatred and enmity than the feeling of loyalty and selflessness, that he would just be like, well, yeah, sure, like, you know, one servant's as good as another, quote-unquote, willingly is as good as willing. Whereas he's like, oh no, enemy? We want someone who hates me. We want an arch nemesis. Like, that's where magic's really powerful. I think this is actually a very in-character failing of Voldemort, where he kind of screws himself over yet again.
Yeah, it's very dumb that he believes that and then doesn't believe in love having an effect. That's very strange.
In the graveyard scene, he does emphasize a lot, oh, it's my faithful servant. This is the one who's really faithful. But I think he only talks about it because, you know, it makes, first of all, he's trying to make the other Death Eaters jealous, but also because, you know, he's excited about the practical results of that. Not because he thinks there's any magical element to loyalty, right? Or that he values anything in terms of how it's going to play into the, like, effects of his potion. I think that he completely overlooks, just like he would for love. And that's why in the King's Cross scene, Dumbledore specifically mentions loyalty as one of the things that Voldemort understands nothing of, just along with house elves and children's tales. Loyalty is one of those. And it's funny because you think of Voldemort as someone who deeply prizes loyalty and who cares a lot about it, but it's because he doesn't understand it at all. He only recognizes its ability to prop him up and to make him more powerful and, you know, to rely on other people's loyalty rather than the meaning of what loyalty is and what it is magically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, this is so good. I love this Voldemort analysis. Again, I just spent a couple days, like, reading a Voldemort book, so I'm, like, in the zone.
I mean, speaking of Voldemort and plugging our Patreon once more, Irvin and I talk about his adventures with the resurrection potions, because he has been reenacting that a couple of times now.
Yes.
So if you want to watch that, go to our Patreon and you can watch that there.
Yeah, real Irvin died years ago. This is a resurrected Irvin.
Yes.
Much more powerful.
I'm pretty sure that on some episode we talked about what our Horcruxes would be, and I actually revealed what mine is. So yeah, no, I'm all in. I've just been resurrecting myself over and over again.
Understandable. Life is hard.
Exactly. And, like, if you've got to the trouble of, you know, making a man-sized cauldron, you're gonna use it.
Yeah.
You don't just, like, batch cook soup or something? Or...
You raise a good point.
That is how more cooking should be. And also more potions. I think they make most of their potions in pretty small cauldrons, but a cauldron feels like it's got to be like a cauldron, you know, a big old thing, like the thing that Voldemort comes out of.
Yeah, we don't want the, like, standard size 2 cauldrons for the first years. We want the man-sized ones.
Especially if you want to fill a whole lake with potion.
Yeah. You need the whole industrial cauldron situation.
Yeah, like, do you ever watch those, like, videos of, like, you know, here's how Cheez-Its are made in a factory? And yeah, I was like, I'm picturing that for Voldemort's potions now. They like, here's where he's growing, all of the sopophorus beans and crushing them with industrial-sized silver daggers.
That's exactly what I imagined. I love it.
Do you think he knows to crush them instead of cut them up? I hope Snape didn't give him that secret.
No, he doesn't. If Snape were putting that draft of living death in the cave, Dumbledore would have been asleep like that.
Good point.
All right. Well, listeners, we thought this would be our grand finale for the potion series, but to the shock of, well, I assume absolutely no one listening, we're going to have to invoke Death Eater Protocol for this potions episode because we are rapidly approaching the 3-hour mark, and we still need to talk about Voldemort's potion in the cave, which, I could go for hours on that alone, and the, 24 other potions in the series, and potions as a whole. So you know what? We're gonna cut it off here for episode 90, and we're just going to pick the topic back up soon.
And I mean, the most important point has happened. Voldemort is resurrected. And on that happy note, hey, Ev, what's playing on the pub's jukebox today?
Today we have Potions Yesterday by Draco and the Malfoys. I hope you all enjoy that.
You messed up in potions yesterday, but everyone still thinks you're really great. Except Snape. Except Snape. Except Snape. And me. And no one else believed that I would knock you on your bum. Except for Snape. Except for Snape. We didn't know you talked to snakes, which worked out alright in the end. Now everyone is thinking you're the heir of Slytherin, and it's okay. It's really great, 'cause I hate you now. So does everyone else.
Well, Gilad, thank you so much for visiting us here at the Three Broomsticks. It has been an absolute pleasure having you here with us. Thank you for, all your expertise, all your insights.
I've enjoyed all of the butterbeer and maybe snuck in a little bit of fire whiskey.
Excellent. And you know what? We will be podcasting with you plenty more as we continue this episode, which, maybe it'll be a 2-parter, maybe a 3-parter. Who knows?
I can't wait.
Is there anything you'd want to plug or anywhere listeners can follow you?
No, I am very happily offline as a rock. So just listen to me here, and that's the best I can say.
Excellent.
And if you enjoyed your time at the pub today with us, please rate and review us online, or tell your friends about our show, or do both. Both is good. And huge thanks again to Ninon Gerard, who bought us this round of drinks at the Three Broomsticks. Thank you so much.
Yay!
Thank you.
Thank you
Yay.
so much.
And if you'd like to buy us the next round, please head over to patreon.com/3broomsticks with the numeral 3 and sign up.
And if you can't find Gilad online, but you can certainly find us online. We are very much online. We are on various different social media channels, linked to on our website and in the show notes. And while we're there, we will offer you, a sneak peek of our schedule, which keeps changing as our episodes keep, dragging into multi-part ones. But our tentative schedule at any rate. And, we share what's coming down the pike on Patreon. And Sophia's doing chains of emojis for our chapter episodes. It's good fun. And also you can chat with us at our website, which is 3broomstickspod.com. That's with the 3 spelled out. While you're there, you can submit a topic. If you want more episodes about potions, if, we were talking about a potion and you're like, what, I actually want 3 more hours about that. Let us know. And let us know your thoughts on all the potions we discussed on love potions, wolf's bane, baby mort potions, resurrection potions, all the rest of it. And also, while we're talking about the website, want to give a huge shout out to That Fantasy Analyst, which listeners may know as our recent podcast guest, Luke Smitherman, because I asked for a fanfic about Uric the Oddball, and he absolutely did deliver and wrote a fanfic on request about Uric the Oddball. So yes, please go check out Luke's fanfics while you're doing all your recommended reading.
And next time we meet at the Three Broomsticks, we'll be discussing something not potion related. Actually, we're going to take a small break. Our Cormorant Strike crossover, going back to the beginning, discussing the parallels between Book 1 of Harry Potter and Book 1 of Strike Cuckoo's Calling. And after that, of course, we will come back to the second part of our potions discussion. I'm Karoline.
I'm Ev.
And I'm Irvin. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time in the Three Broomsticks. Cheers!
Give me big old buckets of butterbeer. Give me big old barrels of butterbeer. Give me the drink I love so dear. And another round for my friend right here of the sweet old butterbeer.
This episode of The Three Broomsticks was edited by Patrick Musilek. The theme song was written and performed by The Faithful Sidekicks. Make sure to check them out at thefaithfulsidekicks.com.
Do they become... Sorry, somebody's trying to call me there. Let me...
Oh, it's not me for once.
Just being a bad podcaster there. Let me just turn this off.
Oh, that's good. Then I'll just drink this.
Yeah, hang on. Right. Okay. Sorry, Patrick.
I don't know about you, but I'm having so much fun.
Yeah.
This is the dream. Like, I'm already trying to think what a good series like this for next year could be, because straight up, this potion series has been such a joy.